Hello everyone and welcome back to GPVWC Super League for the 5th round of the 2024 season. Today we return to the Autodromo Enzo E Dino Ferrari, a real fixture on the calendar that first appeared in GPVWC Super League way back in 2002 and has been hosting Grand Prix on a 3-year streak now. And today, we unfortunately do not have one of the main contenders. Tom Stevens is not expected to show today. He's having internet issues. And that's really worrying because for the past few rounds, Jan Grankvist has been on a real streak, winning 3 races in a row and taking a 2nd place at the first round of the championship. And if he keeps up that performance today, he could easily be leading the championship by 50, maybe 60 points. At the end of today with Tom Stevens' absence. Ryan, not great stuff to see a championship so split from such an early point in the season, but Tom will be back and he'll be strong, won't he?
Absolutely. It's still early-ish days. I mean, round 5, where's the time going? Already almost a third of the way through this season. But yeah, there's still plenty of time, 11 races after this one. He's got every chance of coming back, all it takes is, Jan's on a big run right now, but all it takes is a couple that go not his way and he'll be potentially let Tom reel himself in. But yeah, always good to be at Imola. Obviously being here last year and the season before that, but before then there was a big 10-11 year gap, I believe, from the previous Grand Prix around here. But personally, I enjoy it. Proper old school track, fast flowing, some tight and slow stuff as well. So yeah, and full of history.
Absolutely it is. In terms of the other headlines we've got to look for coming into today, Carlos Martin for TOP Esports got a 5-second time penalty after the last race, which dropped him back to 12th in the order after he initially finished in 10th position. So that's some points lost for TOP there. Stein Handgraf has an outstanding penalty coming into today. I'm just checking to see if he is on the entry list. Yes, he is. He's currently racing that number 12 green stripes car, as he has been for the rest of the season. We also see another return. It feels like every other week now we're talking about the return of Jarl Tyen. Unfortunately, it didn't last very long for him in Jeddah, as he was involved in a first lap incident there and wasn't really able to show what he was worth. But you got to remember Jarl Tyen, he's a driver who has won races before. He won the Italian Grand Prix last year in his only showing of the season. So definitely keep an eye on Jarl Tyen and see what he can do. The first few qualifying laps are now coming in. Jan Grankvist, understandably, at the top of the order. Mark Schluter currently 2nd, less than a 10th of a second off. And Dylan Fisher 3rd, with Maguire just going up into 4th position there. I was told earlier that low 1:16s would be the pole position time, but that's clearly not going to be the case because they're already in the mid 1:15s. So I expect that I was told some slightly inaccurate information there, and the cars are even quicker than we expected them to be, Ryan.
Yeah, I'd never believe anything they put in that Super League chat. They're all trying to get inside each other's heads. It is as racing drivers want to put each other off me. Make people think that you're either faster or slower than you really are. But yeah, good start to quali. Jan the man on top. What a surprise. But there's still 11 minutes for somebody to do something, shake up the order a little bit. You see Jack West returning as well for Nocturne. Had a pretty rough Super League debut, I think it's fair to say. Copped a few penalties in the end. Obviously had that incident with Stokowski in the pits as well, which was not one of his finest moments, I'm sure, but that one wasn't reported in the end, so got away with that. But hopefully you can, he was super quick in quali last time, so we know he definitely got the pace, and he was fairly quick in the race until a few things didn't quite go his way, like the pit stop. So if he can sort of iron a few of them issues out and get some good tyre wear in, no reason why he can't be a top 5, even maybe podium contender today.
Yeah, that's the thing for Jack West. He was very quick, but it can't be denied that it was quite a dodgy debut in the end, with quite a few incidents. He will actually have a 10-slot grid penalty for today's race, So wherever he qualifies, he will have to start 10 positions lower than he would otherwise have done. And of course, Jack was on the front row of the grid last time out, so this could cost him a real high-level qualifying performance. Here's Ruben Machedi. We're just seeing a replay of him lapping the difficult Imola circuit, and that's one of the trickiest corners there, that corner known as Villeneuve, after Gilles Villeneuve had a big accident there in 1980. And it looks like Ruben Machedi will be going no further in this session. Of course, you do have to make it back to the pits in order to go out again and set another lap. I'll quickly finish running you through the penalties because I realised I forgot to finish that off. Obviously, Jack West has that 10-slot grid penalty I mentioned. Philip Pushke has a 5-slot grid penalty. That was for pushing a driver off the track. And Matthew Williams also has a 5-slot grid penalty for avoidable contact. So there are a few drivers who are going to be out of position at the start of this next race, including the Zortax racing driver who you're watching right now. But the rest of the grid is up for grabs, and it's all to do with who goes fastest in this qualifying session. I should also introduce, obviously you've heard Ryan Elliott, my co-commentator for today and my regular partner in crime. But of course, your broadcast is brought to you by Vincent Gutt. Vincent, of course, a fixture of the GPVWC community, works with Spark, and also a keen racer himself. So thank you, Vincent, for providing the cameras, the replays, everything along those lines. And I'm sure we're going to get some good action here today at Imola to blast through your computer screens. Talking of blasting, that's a good first sector there from Jarl Tyan. He could be a challenger for the top spot here, Ryan.
Certainly could be. And we know he's got the pace. Monza last year being a specific highlight for him. His race in, I think it was Saudi that he did a one-off. Wasn't quite as successful. He's going a little bit wide and, oh yeah, miles off in the middle sector. So this one isn't going to be the one. I assume he's going to, peel into the pits this time round. But yeah, we know he can certainly do it. And, you know, setting up, even if he ended up P4 in the end, I think he'd be pretty happy with that. As Schluter looks on to make an improvement here. Obviously, Edge with one of, if not the most upgraded car coming into this round. Let's see what he can do as he exits the final corner, bails out of it again. He's just got something wrong that we didn't quite see in that final sector, but super challenging going into the final couple of corners. Obviously downhill braking for the second to last, and then so easy to catch the curb on the outside or get into the gravel a little bit. See a lot of people bailing out of laps. Not a lot of improvement going on, which is interesting, but people are clearly either not going fast enough or don't want to waste time doing another in-lap, because obviously we're not allowed to escape in these qualifying sessions. So sometimes it's not even worth it if you know you've got way more in the tank.
No, but Moritz Kropp did just get into the top 5, and that is less than a quarter of a second off Jan Grankvist. So there's still drivers improving, albeit not everyone. And this is the point in the session, as you can see Gobby coming in, where the drivers are coming in and setting up for their final flying runs. They tend to go out with about 3 or 4 minutes remaining. Then a couple of... Is that Risto Capit? I did not know he was going to be driving today.
Yes.
Now, this is the first I've seen of this. I take it you know more than me about this.
I was only aware from when we joined the session, and it's funny because my next point was going to be, we've talked about Tyan, we've talked about West, how we missed out Risto Capit in a TX3.
Yeah, I did not know he was going to be racing today. Now, Risto Capit, for those of you who don't know, used to race for Vodball Motorsports back when they were, in fact, Vodball. His last season was 2018, where he won the Chinese Grand Prix. I've got his stats up now. He was second in 2017. Teammate to the absolutely unbelievable Rudy Van Buren, won the Belgian Grand Prix that year as well, did Risto. But that was his last Super League race, way back in 2018. He's been doing other things since. I've seen him do some really, really high-level sim races. I commentated on him a little while ago in a GT series that he did pretty darn well in. But yeah, this is very much a return to GPVWC. I'm looking through all of his stats now. He did do a couple of academy races last year, apparently. I must have missed those because obviously I was keeping an eye mainly on the point scoring sim echelons of the ladder. Actually won the first race in Great Britain last year in the academy series. So looks like he has been kind of dipping his toes in, but goodness me, I was not expecting to see a return of this high status to Super League without being told about it. So welcome back to the Estonian Risto Capit, who will be racing for the new TX3 squad today. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, I think I saw prior to this that Risto had posted in the Discord server a Twitch stream link. And I didn't think it was for racing in Super League, to be honest. I thought it was something else. You see, Schluter's gone P1 there as well.
Wow.
We've missed in the middle of that. Overtaking Granquist at the top by a decent tenth of a second. Matthew Williams standout performance as well. That top 10 is fascinating. You're tying Crop, Fournier, Carlos Martin jumps up, Matthias Muss, Dylan Fisher. There's some serious movement going on, and people are now starting to knuckle down again in the final 5 minutes of this qualifying session. And yeah, there's certainly a few moves happening, but Risto little way off now. But I imagine he hasn't done a lot of laps in this car, so let's see what he can do for the rest of the night when he starts to pick it up.
Well, he's not exactly out of practice, Risto Capit. He is a absolutely addicted sim racer. But anyway, Mark Schluter's been really finding his form recently. He was 5th in the last 2 Grand Prix after failing to finish the first 2 of the season. He was expressing his disappointment to me after the first couple of rounds. And into the pits now comes Dylan Fisher, so setting up for one final run maybe. That's a big slide for Jeffrey Fournier. That'll be an abandoned lap. And Jack West now goes 4th, but remember, he still has his penalty to serve. Moritz Krop, currently P6, looks to be a potential improvement. He was a little down in the second sector. The second sector easily the most difficult to hook up on this circuit. You want to push it a bit too much over those curbs through the Variante Alta, but the car can get so light over there. And Moritz Krop, a 1:688 puts him 4th in the session. So the top 4 now separated by less than 0.2 of a second. It's looking a lot closer than some of the qualifying sessions that we've seen recently, with the top 2 separated by less than 1/10 of a second. You still can't count out the likes of Granqvist or Krop or even Yartayan. Unfortunately, of course, 2 of the drivers up there, Matthew Williams and Jack West, both have grid penalties, but aside from that, it's really close up there. Hygo Poom can only manage 18th for the time being, but his teammate Dylan Fisher is still in the top 10. Ryan, we're getting into the sharp end of the session. 2.5 minutes to go. It's a 1:15 lap time, and it's going to be the last lap time that's your real crunch point.
Yes, it certainly is. You see Granquist going purple in Sector 1, so you've definitely got something in the tank. Another one to mention as well, I believe Tyan might have a grid penalty coming into this round as well, as you see Granquist go purple again then in Sector 2. So there could be a few movers from the top of the grid. Granquist though, not one of them. And he's going to hopefully get this final 2 corners right, super important here.
You're right, now I didn't... Sorry, yes, we are going to see Granqvist across the line now, and he improves. Oh, but he only improves by 0.03 of a second, so does not go to the top of the times. Now, does he have enough left to go for another lap straight away? It looks as if he was still pushing into turn 1 potentially. Here's Matthew Williams as well. You're absolutely right about Yartayan. He does have an outstanding grid penalty of 5 grid slots. The reason I didn't see that is because, of course, he did not race at the last Grand Prix. That's a penalty that hangs over from the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, where he caused some of the carnage on the first lap of the race. Matthew Williams now crosses the line, no improvement. Stein Handgraf has a penalty, so this isn't too important, with all due respect to Stein. And Mark Schluter is setting up for one final flying lap, which might just be a victory lap at this rate, to the front of the grid, Ryan.
Ooh. Wouldn't go as far as to say a victory lap. Victory for at least this part of the session, potentially. Obviously a long race ahead of us. But yeah, definitely.
You know what I meant.
Very, very impressive to be ahead of Granqvist. I'm super impressed with Schluter this session. We've seen Matthias Muss. Hasn't quite gone his way so far this year for Matthias, but I know that if he gets himself in a good position in qualifying, looks like he's going to improve here from 9th. Yeah, jumps up into the top 6. Which will be a top 5 by the time the penalties are applied, presuming that he stays in this position. you can race from there. You can certainly race from there.
We're about to see the checkered flag in under 20 seconds. The drivers can complete the lap that they're on. If you're wondering why they can't all see each other, why the track's not buzzing with 30 Grand Prix cars, this is private qualifying, meaning they're all out on the track at the same time, but they cannot interact with each other. It's one of the beauties of sim racing. Yartayan sets a 1:15.676. That puts him third in the session, but remember, he'll be 8th at best. Here's Mark Schluter now. He does go faster than his own first sector. It's coming up as purple, which shows you that he's faster than the leader's time. It's not quite the fastest sector time that we've seen. In fact, it's not quite his own personal best. He bailed out of his personal best lap time, or his theoretical personal best lap time. So this could be even quicker. Carlos Martin goes 8th. He improves. Grankvist, Tyne and Williams are all in the pits. Moritz Kropp was not going faster on his first sector, does go faster in the second sector. I tell you what, don't count out Moritz Kropp just yet. He'll need to put in a flyer third sector, but he could still do it. Daniel Stepkovski's going quickly. Schluter steps well out of line. This might not be an improvement here for Mark Schluter. Here comes Moritz Kropp. Is it anywhere near enough to knock Mark Schluter off the front row of the grid, off the front position of the grid? Kropp goes third, less than 1/10 of a second off, but he is only third. Now let's look at Stepkovski, because he was flying. Up to the line he goes. Stepkovski goes 6th, not a bad effort at all, and he's going to jump up a couple of places because of penalties. He'll be 4th on the grid, I reckon. So that is the end of this particular session. No one else has the potential to improve. It will be Mark Schluter on pole position ahead of Jan Grankvist, Moritz Kropp and Daniel Stepkovski by my reckoning. Great session.
Fantastic session. It's very, very interesting to see Schluter on top. Very impressed. Really, really great to see. Obviously we knew Edge were going to have a strong car in this round, but you know, you still have to do the business. You still got to do that lap.
There's the provisional result. We've got Mark Schluter just 600ths of a second up on Jan Grankvist at the front of the field. That could be quite a fight today. Moritz Kropp is third. Yartayan 4th, but he has a penalty. So does Matthew Williams from 5th. Stepkovski is 6th. He will start 4th. Jack West is 7th, he has a penalty. Matthias Moos is 8th, then it's Carlos Martin and Fabrizio Gobbi, the top 10. This is all very much subject to change. Jeffrey Fournier, P11, then Jukka-Pekka Lalu, who we understand is celebrating a 5-year streak of not missing a round of GPVWC on the career ladder at this point in time. Dylan Fisher is P13, then it's Adam Maguire, Chris Shepard, Tomasz Vok, Igo Poom, Jack Mayer, Janos Brachuk and Stein Hangraf. Stein will probably start from the back of the grid or even the pit lane, depending on what he decides to do here. We'll go to the third slate of results. We've got Pascal Pollens, Robin Panzer, Philip Pushke, who has a penalty, Zolt Schukes, then Chris Butcher, who is stepping in for Tom Stevens, who unfortunately is not able to make it today due to internet issues. Maxim Bewley is P26, then it's Istvan Xingel, Risto Capit, the returning Risto Capit with a disappointing P28. Then George Zalagianis and a rather beaten up Ruben Machedi, who we saw backing into the barriers near the start of the session. Now, the thing I find so interesting about that qualifying, Ryan, is that a lot of the drivers who have grid penalties were right up near the front. I'm talking Jarl Tyen, Matthew Williams, Jack West. We're going to have quite a few drivers out of position in this one, and potentially fighting their way through the field.
Yeah, well, they knew it was important. You know, it works in a couple of ways where they want to get as high up as possible so they can obviously start as high as possible. But also with penalties, you don't get the option if you dropped outside the top 15 to start on whatever tyre you want. So they knew they had to just go as fast as they could. But for some of them, some of the standout names, for me, the way you look at Williams, like, might be a little bit disappointed that, you know, he qualified so well and now he's going to have to take a penalty when it hasn't typically been this high up previously. Obviously been in and around, but not inside the top 5. So yeah, it's always a shame. At least, you know, there's no we don't look at what's the word before, the track limits like we used to. It felt like almost every race I used to do back in the day I had a grid penalty for track limits, but there are only 5 places for the most part, obviously Jack West being the standout number 10. 10th place penalty, but people can still race from there. You know, we've seen winners come from even outside the top 10 before, so it's definitely possible with a good bit of strategy and so tight and twisty and difficult round here. Obviously massively tough on the rear tyres and some big curves to navigate as well, and you know, anyone can make a mistake regardless where they start.
Yeah, of course. I've got into a bit of a habit of reminding you all that the qualifying results are provisional, because back in the day when they used to give penalties judging by the previous round's qualifying session, we used to have maybe 10 or 12 cars every race picking up a grid penalty and dropping down the order. Because the problem back then is that if your qualifying lap was great, but you knew that you had cut the track or something like that, it would sometimes be beneficial to actually start the race in the position where you qualified, and then cop the penalty for the next race. I saw plenty of drivers, especially lower down the order, doing that, because if they were to do it fairly every time, they'd be a rather stationary 20th position or so. But by cutting corners, you could occasionally snag a top 10 position on the grid and no one could say anything about it. But anyway, of course, another thing to note is that only the top 15 drivers in qualifying are limited on their starting compound of tyre. The drivers who qualified in the top 15 have to start on the compound of tyre that they qualified on, which in this case is the soft compound. And for every race that... for every race where that happens, big slide for Ruben Machete. But of course, this is only the warm-up session. But yeah, for every racer who starts outside of the top 15 or qualifies outside of the top 15, they have a choice to make as to whether they do stick with the soft tyre, which will be theoretically faster at the start and give them more grip off the line, or whether they want to get a strategic advantage and go for a medium or hard tyre that will run longer and allow them to potentially make fewer and later pit stops. So you really have a bit of a balancing act, and you often see the people starting 16th and 17th especially going, right, well, we're the top drivers who can benefit from this, let's benefit.
Yeah, everyone 16th and back's going to go, well, I always say this, and some people surprise me, but for me, that in them positions, I do something punchy. I go on a weird tyre, I do something different. I'm sure a few people will do that, but some of them will potentially even start on softs because they just want to stay with the pack, the main pack, and kind of follow what they're doing. Some people don't like starting on harder tyres when you've got a full car as well, which is understandable, but I've always been one of the people who likes to get out of the way early. But everyone works different, and we'll see come lap one, or come, sorry, the formation lap, what everybody's going for. You can kind of get a rough idea from this session as well, when people now are obviously trying to get out of qualifying mode. They've chucked all the fuel in and put on the harder tyres, or some people have softs on, like we see Jeff Bonnier right in front of us. But yeah, just trying to get back in the groove and using push to pass again. Obviously it's not enabled in quali. So yeah, just trying to get back into the racing flow, not trying to go 100%, just down 1 or 2%.
Yes, indeed. Now, considering Jan Grankvist today has a chance of extending his winning streak to 4 victories, I've taken a look back in time at the statistics to see who the last driver to do that was, and it was in fact, actually, would you like to take a guess?
Can you tell me the year?
2017, I think that gives it away.
2017, is that our year?
It was Rudy Van Buren, who of course went on to be crowned world's fastest gamer just a couple of months later. Rudy Van Buren actually did it twice that year. He had a winning streak going on earlier on in the season, and a couple of dodgy results, and by that I mean second place finishes, and then another streak of 4 race wins at the end before he didn't even bother to show up for the final round of the season, which incidentally was the first Super League race that I commentated live, so I just missed being able to commentate on Rudy Van Buren. But I know, I was gutted, but anyway. less of the history, more of the present. Jan Grankvist, remember, he was just under 1/10 of a second away from our pole sitter Mark Schluter in qualifying, and he's going to be pretty tricky to hold back. I think the key for Mark will be to hold the lead through the first couple of corners and play it from there. It's also worth noting that we do have a particularly difficult first few corners at this circuit. It's a chicane, so drivers can hold their line on the left and on the right. Sometimes drivers get a little over ambitious with it, and the reason I bring that up is, well, anyone who saw the Super Lights race the other day will know why I brought that one up. Unfortunately, there was a massive pile-up which involved the majority of the grid, including several of the front runners, and it ended up really shaping the whole story of the race. As second, third, basically everyone behind ended up piling into a massive carbon fiber. And we shouldn't see that today, but unfortunately we have seen a couple of pile-ups so far this season. There was a first lap pile-up in Australia and Saudi here in Super League. And I'm just keeping my fingers crossed and hoping that everyone gets through the first lap cleanly. But yes, Ryan, you mentioned that this particular circuit is very old school, and in fact that comes with the extra caveat of not having much room for error.
Yes, there certainly isn't, and especially when you look at some of the curves, like we just saw Panzer absolutely sending it over that chicane at the top of the hill. That entire section actually is just really hard. Like there's not a lot of runoff, not a lot of space to go too wide. There's some big curves to tackle. It's like this first corner as well, coming into a really pretty big straight, kind of breaking on a bit of a curve. Initially, it's yeah. I mean, we saw what happened with the Russell and Bottas going into there in Formula 1 a few years ago, but this section here entirely is just so difficult. If you run wide there over the massive yellow sausage or something, and then you see Lalu here do an example of hitting, well, I say hitting, using the entire car over that first curb, and I imagine some people will be taking the second as well, and then coming at the second last corner is downhill braking, super tough. So easy to just go a little bit wide into the gravel, and that's another thing, is we've got gravel so close on a lot of exits here. So easy to just drop a wheel, get caught out and spin, as we've seen in the past. But yeah, I mean, I love this track though. There's nothing wrong with a good challenge every now and again, and this is certainly one of them that all of our drivers here are going to have to face. All 30 drivers, a nice good field turnout as always in Super League, which is always great to see.
Indeed. Well done to those in chat who correctly guessed that Rudy Van Buren was the last driver to get 4 straight victories. Matthias Pischan said surely Van Buren, and I presume said that before I got my answer in. Florian Gaia says, hearing Van Buren, I get flashbacks. Yes, indeed. Gaia was one of his rivals that year. Actually won the British Grand Prix, and in fact the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, although that was after when Van Buren left. But yes, congrats Florian for that one. I'm sure you still haven't forgotten it. Oh yeah, there we go. Used to race against him that year and beat him once. Massive smiling face. Yes, I wouldn't forget that either. I often like to boast that for my first ever sim race, which was the ITC Championship we used to do, I actually started the race ahead of Rudy Van Buren because, of course, he had a grid penalty. And we got to turn 1 and he was past me in a flash, and then I never saw him again, so off he went. But you know, that's Rudy for you. Risto Caput, of course, used to be his teammate back in the day. He was second that season, so I'm sure Florian Gaia has some good and not so good memories of racing against Risto, the driver who is back today for TX3. And yes, hello to everyone else who has joined in the YouTube chat, and everyone who's reminiscing with us about the good old days when we had the world's fastest gamer racing here in GPVWC. Not, of course, that we don't right now. I'm sure that Jan Grankvist would stake his claim to that one, and we've had some drivers in recent memory who would have a claim to that as well. The last driver to win 3 GPWC Super League races in a row, aside of course from Jan Grankvist, who is on a 3-race streak right now, was Yannick Bock in 2022. It was also done by Jerne Simoncic a couple of years ago. So we've had some big names in GPWC Super League. Jan Grankvist has proven himself to be one of those big names, and he is trying to extend his streak today. As for Mark Schluter though, he is standing in his way, standing strong on pole position. I'm not entirely sure. I think this is probably Mark Schluter's first pole position, although it's quite hard to find statistics for that. I will very quickly check that. Yes, indeed, this is Mark Schluter's first GPWC Super League pole position, and his first GPWC pole position, as he has not got one in Super Light either. So congratulations to Mark Schluter on that. He has one GPWC podium to his name. That was in just his second Super League race at the Spanish Grand Prix last year, and I'm sure that he will stand a good chance of fighting with Jan Grankvist and bringing home one better than that today. Plenty of drivers who could do. They're all lining up on the grid, and we're about to see them head away on the formation lap before 63 laps of racing. So let's see the starting lineup for the last time before they go at it in anger. So Mark Schluter, pole position, his first pole for Edge Esports. Jan Grankvist is second, on the cusp of GPWC history. Moritz Kropp is in P3, possibly his best qualifying result as well, and fourth is Daniel Stepkowski. Matthias Moos P5, then Carlos Martin, Jarl Tyen, and Fabrizio Gobbi. Keep an eye on Jarl Tyen, he won the Italian Grand Prix last year. Matthew Williams P9, then it's Jeffrey Fournier P10, Jukka-Pekka Lalu and Dylan Fisher 12th in the AKA Hero car. Following them, Adam Maguire, Chris Shepherd, Tomasz Włoch and Heigo Poom. A very experienced slate of drivers there. Those drivers have all done more sim races than I can count on 2 hands. Jack West, that was a dumb thing I just said. Carrying on. Jack West, P17. Jack Mayer, P18. There's the Jack row. Janos Brachuk, P19, alongside Pascal Pollens. Then Robin Pansar, Zolt Schukes, Stein Handgraf, and Maxim Bewley. P25 will be, we're about to see, Istvan Xingel, starting alongside a returning legend of GPWC, Risto Caput. Then Philip Pushke and George Zalogiannis. And the final 2 positions will be made up by the penalised Ruben Machete and the substitute Chris Butcher, of course substituting for the struggling Tom Stevens, struggling with his internet connection. He was attempting to race on a mobile hotspot, I was being told, and it just did not work. So unfortunately, we've lost Tom Stevens before the race has even started, but we still have a full house of 30 cars. All 15 teams in attendance here today, Ryan, as we usually see. And what a stacked grid it is. What a tight qualifying session. Who are you watching out for today?
I mean, first and foremost, I'm looking out for my drivers. Stafkowski starting P4 and Vak, interestingly, being 16th in quali, obviously being now promoted to 15th, will potentially be the first person to start on the on a different tyre, either medium or hard. Like, I don't know if that graphic's completely updated yet. I know R-Factor 2 takes time to sort itself out, but looking for Schluter, if he can hold Granquist off, that would be very impressive. Granquist is a bit of a race merchant, he's absolutely rapid in race trim, so I think that'll be tough, but you know, anything can happen. I'm going to predict Granquist as my winner though.
Sorry, yes, I should correct myself. Ruben was not penalised, he crashed on his qualifying lap. It was Stein Handgraf who I was thinking of. Okay, so to the grid we go. Look out for the drivers starting on alternate tyres. Tomasz Włoch is indeed the top driver on mediums, and George Zalogiannis the top driver on hards. There are the lights. When they go out, we'll be underway for 63 laps of racing. And it's go! Away we go! So Mark Schluter gets the better run. It looks as if Moritz Kropp is already side by side with Jan Grankvist. Now this could throw a spanner in the works. He's taking a look at the leader. Look, he's up the inside and they get away with it. So Schluter leads. Krop is second now with Grankvist only third. Hopefully everyone is through cleanly in the background. I don't see any flying wings or anything along those lines, but I might be speaking too early. This is Villeneuve, a very tight and very fast chicane, and someone does run wide in the background. Unfortunately, I didn't quite see who it was. I have a feeling. Oh, and there's a wing off. Istvan Ksingel is missing a wing. Now, who's that at the back of the field? Is that Tomasz? Is that Tomasz Vok? Oh, unfortunately, we've lost Tomasz Vok, at least from where he started this race. So drops right back after running off the road. And Stein Hangraf, I'm seeing, is not on the track either. So Hangraf has become our first DNF. So not an entirely clean first lap, but at least it was much cleaner than Superlights. Not that that took much doing. Schluter leads the race, Moritz Krop is second, then it's Jan Grankvist and Carlos Martin, so Stepkovski's lost a position. Good start there from Carlos Martin, Ryan.
Yeah, Carlos Martin taking advantage in the opening lap of this race, and same with Krop. Putting a bit of distance between himself and Grankvist as well early on. And then it's just something else now that Grankvist has to consider. He's got two cars that he needs to try and dispatch at some point. They're now in P15, obviously benefiting from Vlach going off. Interesting to see what happened there. We saw him kind of off in the background quite early on in coming out of this corner here, actually. Hopefully we'll be getting a sort of replay at some point, but he's gonna have to, he's still got both of his wings, so he can fluck his way through the pack, not too far off the back.
Everyone in the chat calling for a red flag. I think they're probably watching the Superlights race by mistake. Now here's a replay of what's happened to Tomasz Vok. He's made contact with the Edge Esports car there, and he's spun off the road. Now I'd like to see an onboard there. This will be contact with Chris Shepherd. He's alongside currently with Dylan Fisher. And there, so he tries to outbrake Fisher, goes into the side of Shepherd and spins off the road. And that's the kind of thing that can happen on the first lap of the race. I guess the next question is, why was Istvan Ksingel missing his front wing? And why is Stein Hangraf out of the... Well, there's Hangraf. Now, I looked down at that point. What happened?
There is also from wing. Looks like it's been a crash off the start. Maybe he stalled or something. But I did notice that we instantly went yellow in Sector 1, which was weird. And then this must explain why. Yeah,
so Hangraf has not got going. Now, I'm not sure quite what's happened there. That's a bizarre one. He did not get going, and Ksingel's gone right into the back of him. Not really any fault of Ksingel, because you don't expect a car to be stopped in the middle of the road. And as for Hangraf, the question will be, why did he not get going? He was in first gear. Yeah, just watching the replay. He was in first gear. He just went straight back down to neutral. That's very weird. Okay, well, back to the order. We've got Schluter first, still followed by Krop and Grankvist, but the important thing is that DRS is now available. Now, DRS is not actually that strong at this circuit, because yes, we have a relatively long straight, but the straight isn't straight. There's little kinks in it, which of course breaks up the slipstream effect that you might otherwise get. I should say, of course, the DRS is still just as powerful, but the slipstream not necessarily. But then, of course, you do have a relatively heavy braking zone into turn 1, and you have this difficult acceleration zone out of the Ravazzas to contend with as well, which can give you an advantage if you get a significantly better exit than your opponents. Across the line to start another lap. Doesn't look like an overtaking opportunity this time around, but even so, Krop will be glad to have the DRS, because it will be keeping him on the tail of Mark Schluter up ahead. Oh, tying there side by side with Moose, stays P6. Sorry, gets P6.
Yeah, having to make a few places, obviously, after his penalty earlier on, but quite easily doing that. He's already going to be straight on the back of Stepkowski and Martin, who are losing the top 3 already. There's a good 2-3 seconds between those, which is not a great start for lap 4 only, but really proves the pace that the top 3 guys have got. They need to now just work together and absolutely dispatch of this pack. It gives them so much more option to strategy throughout the race.
Up the hill we go now, towards the Variante Alta. Looks like Jack West just lost a couple of places. I saw him drop behind Jukes and Bratchok, so hopefully everything's okay there. He had a slightly messy debut 2 weeks ago, but we are all wishing the best for Jack, of course, because he's extremely fast and very promising as a talent for the future. Is Matthew Williams already up into the top 10 after his penalty at the start? I think he started just outside of the top 10, if I'm not very much mistaken. And now up alongside, so this is Fabrizio Gobbi versus Matthias Moos now, and Gobbi is up to P7. So Fabrizio Gobbi on the move in the Virtual Drivers by TX3 car. There is Bratchuk fighting with Zolt Shukes. Jack West just behind them, looks if he's still running with his wings attached and all of that. But yes, the main mover on that lap, Fabrizio Gobbi, now up into P7, Ryan.
Gobbi's on a bit of a charge. A few people who are really taking advantage at the start of this race. And there's a few names that are quite far down that I wasn't expecting as well. Anzar being one down there, which we've seen a lot from him recently. And P23 is probably so open for. West struggling to make a bit of improvement as well down in P20. Well, I've just been informed by Toby Davis that he is currently driving with no force feedback, so he's had a problem on his wheel. He has 0 force feedback, and I can tell you that when you're used to driving with a car that you can really feel, when you suddenly lose force feedback, the car becomes very difficult to control indeed. So he's actually doing a good job to keep it on the island. Now look at how close Jan Grankvist is to Moritz Kropp up ahead of him. He's got the DRS and the slipstream. He's a little too far back this time around, but he was much quicker than he was a lap ago. Here's Matthew Williams now on Matthias Moos. Moos's trend seems to be generally backwards now. He's lost a place to Tyen, to Gobbi, and to Williams. And Matthew Williams now up into P8, and it's almost 3 wide further back. Ooh, little bit of banging wheels there. George Zalagianis, who started on the hard tyre, fighting with Tomasz Wok, who runs through the gravel. Wok attempting to recover after his issues earlier on. And the other driver that they are fighting with appears to be Philip Pushke in the Zortax. So side by side go Wok and Pushke. Pushke very nearly rubbing wheels with Tomasz Wok. Wok gets covered off, and getting involved now is Risto Capet. This is something I've been waiting a long time to say. I didn't know if he'd ever return to GPVWC Super League, but Capet goes down the inside up towards Piratella. Bails out of it this time around, but he'll have other opportunities. Just you wait. Maybe not on Wok though. Wok is making his way back through the order. Zalagianis on the hard tyres should be a more realistic opponent at this point in time. But we still got a long way to go in this race. Oh, and I think Martin and Tyen have just swapped places at the front. Can we take a look at this? Look, it's a massive, wow, we've got an absolute sandwich full of cars up at the front of the order. So Tyen's up to 5th, up to 4th. Now look at Stepkovsky and Gobbi. Gobbi nearly forced onto the grass on the entry to the corner. So Tyen 4th now, Martin 5th, Stepkovsky 6th, and Gobbi 7th. Gobbi looking Williams now looking all over the back of Gobbi. Nearly finds the grass himself, and with a jumble of cars like that heading up into turn 1, I'm glad that they're all still pointing in the right direction, Ryan. Yeah, there was a few manoeuvres there who's looking a little bit sketchy, but all managed to come out of that one safely for now. But you know, he's on the back of that pack, just watching everybody else fight away. Adam McGuire, you know, he will happily take advantage, but something definitely happened because Tyen managed to jump Stepkowski.
Oh, there we go.
What happened on the exit of the corner there?
It was a really bad corner exit for Carlos Martin. So Martin dipped wheels into the gravel, was very slow off the corner, and that's why Jarl Tyen was able to get through so quickly. And that, of course, bunched up the cars behind them, nearly allowed Gobbi to get through. There was a little wheel-to-wheel rub, and then that, of course, nearly allowed Matthew Williams to gain places as well. That's what we call the accordion effect. And it looks like they're side by side again in the background. Stepkovsky has got past Martin. So Stepkovsky this time takes the advantage, goes through. Martin still has the DRS, takes the look to the inside. Gets a really poor run through the first couple of corners. Gobbi will attack him soon at this rate. But yes, Stepkovsky's up to 5th now. Crazy start.
Yeah, it was a shame on the previous lap. You know, getting caught out of the final corner, but at least he hasn't lost too much in the overall race, but he needs to try and get on the back of Tyen as quickly as he can. Jack May still, as we ride on board with him, P15. just on the edge of the points, but sitting pretty with a nice pack ahead of him. He's in a good position with not a lot of pressure from behind to potentially make a good little strategy out of this. He can kind of sit back, relax, save his tyres, and then, you know, make an informed choice from the people around him. Like I say, you've got not a lot of pressure from Hygo Poom yet, but there's still plenty of time for Poom to potentially capture him back.
Now we're unfortunately being told that Jack West's race has gone from bad to worse. He is now disconnected. So Jack West will probably be feeling that this is a massive waste of time for him. And unfortunately his second Super League race has gone even worse than his first somehow. And we now have 28 drivers remaining. I will be fair to Jack, of course. He was very quick in qualifying once again, just as he was last time. And this is no fault of his own that he's out of the race so early. And look at Carlos Martin taking a look at Daniel Stepkowski very late into turn 1. He got nearly alongside him. You have to get a bit further alongside than that if you're going to realistically take a move. Otherwise your opponent will feel entitled to turn in. And they're lucky that he's lucky that Stepkowski knew he was there and drove accordingly. But Stepkowski driving well. Little slide from, little twitch from George Zalagianis. Keeps the car under control. Currently running P26. And a change as well. I just saw a change between Williams and Gobby. I think Williams is up to 7th now. And if we could take a look at that part of the field, please, just to make sure nothing's gone awry. But yes, I think that... And Gobby's dropped... Oh, Gobby must be side by side with Adam Maguire. There they are. So Gobby and Maguire just swapped twice on that last straight. We saw them go one way, then the other way. And here comes Adam Maguire now. He qualified about 13th in the order. And he's made up a few places. He's inside the top 10. What will happen on the exit of the Ravazzas now? Heading down the start-finish straight. And up into turn 1 go the leaders. Mark Schluter still leading from Kropp and Grankvist. Here comes Adam Maguire on Fabrizio Gobbi. To the outside he goes, ducks back to the inside. Just behind him we've got Moose and Lalu side by side now. With Chris Shepherd in close attendance. Whoa, he was pushing Matthias Moose through the X to the corner. Up the inside, goes through. Moose is forced off the line, nearly gets attacked by Jeffrey Fournier, and wide, and off the road goes Shepherd. And look at that, a little scrap behind. Jack Mayer goes off the road onto the grass in avoidance, and he keeps his car alongside Jeffrey Fournier somehow. It looked as if he was going off the road. To the outside now of Piratella, who leaves their braking later. And once again nearly gets driven off the road. Some very clean racing actually. I'm amazed that no one ended up getting speared off there, because if this was say Formula Sprint 1 or 2, I think someone would absolutely have ended up in the barriers, to say the least. And these drivers and the driving standards here significantly better than we've seen in the past. So they've all got away with it, and I think that the biggest winner out of all of that probably Fabrizio Gobbi, because he's still ahead of Adam Maguire somehow. And here comes Grankvist. Sorry, look at this. This is for second position. Grankvist to the outside of Moritz Kropp, up into the braking zone of Tamburello. Around the outside he goes. They make a little bit of contact. There was a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact between the two of them, and Moritz Kropp maintains that second position. Wide and through the gravel goes Fabrizio Gobbi. Williams gets up to 7th place. Whoa, this is absolutely crazy.
There's certainly a lot of action happening. We're not even in the pit stop stage either, so it's amazing seeing people, obviously for the most part, being super clean as well, which is what we love to see. This scrap for the final places in the top 10 is amazing. To see Chris and Fournier going hammer and tongue. Obviously these two guys really good friends off track as well. They know they've got the respect for each other, but it doesn't mean that one of them isn't going to send it on the other. But yeah, Chris Shepherd having a good run as well in P11, and he's definitely got more to give. He's made up quite a few places since the start of the race. You see Granquist now again all over the back of Kropp. That interestingly, last time round, Schluter pulling out of the slipstream of Granquist and trying to pull Kropp along because he knew he needs to keep a car between himself and Granquist.
There, yes, I was on mute for a second, but we're on the straight again. Jan Grankvist approaching the back of Moritz Kropp. There was a little change. I think Chris Shepherd and Shepherd's in the pits, so that's what's happened. Chris Shepherd in the pits, and he is the first of the drivers who were up near the front of the order to make what we assume was a scheduled pit stop. He came in from 11th position. Now, I was told by Jukka-Pekka Lalu the other day that I've been told by Jukka-Pekka Lalu that we're expecting 2 stops to be the main order of the day. 3 stops are possible, although probably not desirable considering how difficult it is to overtake at this circuit. I think a 1 stop might be a bit more plausible, but Lalu told me that he couldn't really see that from his own personal experience. So expect most of these drivers to be coming in for 2-stop strategies. But you also have to remember, this is the circuit where a couple of years ago, Liam de Waal surprised us by staying out really, really late and ended up winning the race as a result of doing a 1-stop strategy. Won it from like 11th on the grid or something. Moritz Kropp is in the pits now, so Kropp in. Now, if there's one strategy that will not lend itself to a 1-stop, it will be pitting this early on in the race. So Kropp absolutely on a 2-stop or even potentially 3-stop strategy at this point in time. And that of course puts Jan Grankvist on the tail of Mark Schluter. And the important thing is that even without Kropp there, Grankvist still has the DRS from Mark Schluter. And we've now got to see, will Schluter be easier to pass, or will he fight quite as hard as Moritz Kropp did? Is Grankvist the faster of the 2 drivers, or is he just keeping up at this point in time? We're looking towards the back of the top 10. Jack Mayer attempting to break into the top 10. Jeffrey Fournier just ahead of him in the very distinctive looking Epic Racing car. And Ryan, I'm surprised to see people pitting this early.
Yeah, some early pit stops, but Jack Mayer's definitely plucking a few people off. He's doing a good job, but at some point Carlos Martin's dropped a few places as well. He's down in P8, which obviously with the pit stop from Schluter was P9 roughly overall, but something's happened and Lalu's managed to capitalise on all of that so far. Williams got ahead of, as we see, Schluter's pitted now as well. So, and who else is that jumping in? Is that Sipkowski, Lalu? Yes, we're starting to see people coming in now, so this is certainly going to be our 2 stoppers, I'd imagine.
You're right about Martin. It was right at the start of lap 12, just seemed to lose 3 positions in quick succession. So he dropped behind Stepkowski, Williams and Gobby. Of course, Stepkowski has now stopped. He's just come in actually, as has Mark Schluter, Jarl Tyen, Jukka-Pekka Lalu, a whole bunch of drivers there. Unfortunately, it looks as if we've lost both Istvan Xingel and George Zalagianis. Zalagianis was one of the drivers I was watching for starting on hard tyres. That means the only driver who started on hard tyres who is still in the race now will be Chris Butcher, I believe, who is up into 14th place. Pretty good going from Chris Butcher. And Istvan Xingel was the driver who lost his front wing on the very first lap of the race, running into the back of Stein Handgraf through no fault of his own. Handgraf, of course, stalled on the grid for unknown reasons. So Jan Grankvist now leads the way due to Schluter pitting that last time around. The gap is 7.3 seconds. And the fact that everyone's pitted so early here rather does lend itself to the theory, as wide goes Pascal Pollens. Colt Schukes will take advantage. They both stay out of the pits and through they go. Grankvist in, so Grankvist pits. Now I'd like to take a look, if that's okay, at the tyre compounds that everyone is on, because Grankvist will be important when he comes out of the pits. And where does he come out in relation to his rivals? Well, there's Jeffrey Fournier now, just ahead of Carlos Martin and Jack Mayer. The TOP esports cars nearly make contact, and Grankvist is behind Moritz Kropp still, so Schluter's maintained the provisional lead. He's come out on hard. They're all on hard tyres. All of the top 3 who stopped, they're all on hard tyres. Schluter's still in the provisional lead. Moritz Kropp is P15 currently, but that will be net second. Oh, sorry, as I get the hiccups again. And Jan Grankvist also on the hard tyres, just behind Moritz Kropp. So it's order unchanged there. The only difference is that they now have Philip Pushke in between them, and they have several cars who are yet to stop up in front of them, including the now race leader Fabrizio Gobbi, Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely masterclass from Schluter. He's managed to defend the undercut, and he's got obviously one lap fresher tyres than Crop behind him, and he's actually managed to get a car in between as well with Philip Pushke. But Jack May now taken into P2, going quite long on these soft tyres, which might indicate that he's going to do something a little bit different, but hard to tell this early on in the race. Some people don't always want to do a completely different strategy. They just want to maximise the tyre if they still feel comfortable, and he clearly does. Same can be said with Gobbi and Brakshock as well. Obviously our medium runners from the start are looking pretty high up at the moment, but are yet to pit. You see Crop now all over. Oh, sorry, there's been a change there as well, as Granquist managed to get past Crop at some point.
Yes.
Yeah.
He must have literally just done that. He must have done that down the straight, because Granquist is only just ahead of Moritz Crop, and they've just come out of that DRS zone. And that is exactly what he was trying to do before, of course, when they made that light wheel-to-wheel contact, nearly tipped Jan Granqvist around. And it's good to see that they kept it clean this time, and that Jan Granqvist was able to get past Moritz Krop with no incident. And Moritz now will hope to keep up with him and try to keep the fight going. Little twitch, here we go. Here's a replay, presumably, of what's just happened. So here is Granqvist. They have the DRS, they have the double DRS with Philip Pushke just in front of them. They're both going to sweep past Philip Pushke and 3 wide, with Jan Granqvist going round the outside of Moritz Krop. A really nice clean maneuver, and he goes through into what is now 11th, well 10th place, but what will be 2nd position. There's Carlos Martin, who is losing places. Through goes Jack Mayer on the outside. That's when they made a little bit of contact just behind Jeffrey Fournier. Oh, and he actually ran off the road, didn't he? So Martin losing yet more places. That's Hygo Poom on his outside. And Dylan Fisher's gone through as well. Goodness me. So Martin having a little bit of an erratic few laps now. And we go back to real time. Mark Schluter's just passed Chris Butcher on the road, which is an important one in terms of track position.
Yeah, especially with the corners coming up. But at some point, Jeff Fournier has managed to pick up a penalty as well. I'm not sure what for. Maybe pit lane speeding or something along them lines. But not a great day for Jeff in the end. Yeah, so pit lane speeding, we're being told. So not ideal whatsoever. Chris Butcher now. But I'm not going to go as far as to say a little defence, but gosh, it gets a little bit loose. Managing to keep Granqvist behind, but I imagine Granqvist's going to absolutely fly past. But Granqvist, he's got to be putting in absolute quality laps right now if he wants to keep within range of Schluter. Obviously, there's not too far between them. Oh, there's not going to be, especially by the end of the straight, if he manages to get the move done. But no, has to sit in behind Butcher. Can't believe that.
Granqvist got really boxed up behind Butcher there, and behind, who else is in attendance? That's Maxim Bewley in the Pescara ADG car, who they've managed to pass as well. But yeah, Granqvist got such a mega run, but then had to lift out because there was no way through. And there's Moritz Krop now, getting through on Maxim as well. 2 young guns, relatively new to Super League still, but have been around GPVWC for a good few years now. Moritz Krop, of course, fought with a lot of the other newer drivers in the 2021 Formula Sprint 1 Championship, one of the best GPWC seasons that I've seen to this date. Jan Granqvist now on the back of Chris Butcher, as he was just now. Butcher on the hard tyres just as they are, but remember, he is yet to stop. He started right from the back of the grid and has done well to get himself into 7th place. Fabrizio Gobbi now pits from the lead, so Jack Mayer will lead by 1 second from Hygo Poom. Here comes Granqvist, he will go past Butcher. Moritz Krop follows him through, and Krop's got a better run now. What can Krop do about Granqvist on the straight? Well, he's not quite going to get close enough to challenge for an overtake, but it was important that he went past Butcher at the same time, so they weren't split apart like a spare in bowling. And Jan Grankvist is now 6th in the, well, in the official order. These guys, of course, still 1st, 2nd and 3rd in the actual order, with Mark Schluter just up ahead of them in the net lead, Ryan.
Yeah, Schluter's managed to put a little bit of a gap in. You see Fisher now making a move. Doesn't... Oh, does he get it? No, doesn't quite get it done, running out of space. Obviously too wide through there. It's pretty risky in any car, let alone obviously Super League cars. Which is super sensitive to any slight bit of contact or being ever so slightly offline. You see Galtayan now all over the back of Butcher. Butcher obviously struggling a little bit on these tyres, getting later into his first stint, which is why it's still his first stint. Are we going to see Tyan go for the move into... Yes, we are. Doesn't quite get it done though, so he's going to have to use the DRS and maybe even a little bit of push to pass down the straight. Not ideal for him, kind of ruining his exit, but Tyan now in a little bit of a no man's land when he gets past Butcher here. He's got 2 seconds to the cars in front of him, second and a bit to the car behind, so kind of just getting on with his own race. Obviously the penalty not helping from the start, but he's making the best of what was a bad situation.
And it's worth noting that Galtayan is on medium tyres, whereas the top 3 took hard tyres. So it's getting increasingly difficult to work out what the net order actually is, as always happens in GPVWC Super League. And we'll have to update you more on that towards the end when it becomes clear how the different strategies have actually worked out, and how they're going to work out with different people making different numbers of pit stops potentially. But Galtayan currently 8th in the order, potentially net 4th depending on how many more pit stops everyone is intending to make. Dylan Fisher does now get past the second TX3. That'll be Risto Capet. That's for P20. He's got Fabrizio Gobbi just up the road. He's in a little bit of a TX3 sandwich. And the TX3 is on very different strategies, so that won't phase him too much. Into the pits comes Jack Mayer from the lead. Did he really go this whole way on soft tyres? That would have made him the last driver. Yeah, so that's made him the last driver to change off of soft tyres. And now we've got a race for the lead. Zolt Shukes down the inside, goes through, goes a little wide. Careful, that's how the super lights pile up started, by a driver bouncing over the curbs on the inside. And now he's got Pascal Pollens attacking on the outside, kicking up the grass. Didn't quite leave a car's width, but anyway. Igo Poom leads the race, followed by Zolt Shukes and then Pascal Pollens. Mark Schluter now coming up on them with Jan Grankvist. With all due respect to these drivers, that is the more important battle here, and the one that could well be shaken up. Now here's Carlos Martin, another driver who has been trending slightly downwards in this race due to a couple of different mistakes. I feel that he's been driving frustrated after some of the things that happened to him near the start, so just got to get his head back. He knows that he's got the pace, and then he can drive better. Zolt Shukes runs wide. Little wide, recovers, gets back on the road. Pollens might have a look here. Now the Ravazzas aren't normally an overtaking opportunity, but they are a relatively heavy braking zone. So if you do get shown the door, you might as well go for it. But then of course the problem is the immediate DRS straight. We've got Igo Poom into the pits. Here comes Mark Schluter now, side by side with Pascal Pollens. He'll go through relatively easily. But does Grankvist follow him through? Well, not straight away, So now for Grankvist, he'll be hoping that Jukes holds Schluter up until he can get past Pascal Pollens. Here we go through Villeneuve. Not an overtaking opportunity unless you've jumped someone out of Tamburello. Talking of Tamburello, we're hearing that the THR drivers today are sporting tribute liveries to Ayrton Senna and Roland Ratzenberger. Not tribute liveries, but tribute helmets, sorry. To Roland Ratzenberger and Ayrton Senna, who lost their lives at this circuit 30 years ago. Nearly, well, it was last month, wasn't it? But last week. So Zolt Shukes now leading by just 0.3 of a second from Mark Schluter, and crucially holding him up as Grankvist and Kropp attempt to pass Pascal Pollens just behind them. Down to Ravazzas. You have to feel that if Schluter gets an opportunity here, he'll go for it. He won't wait for the DRS. He does wait. Goes past the DRS detection zone. They'll all get it down the straight with the exception of Zolt Shukes. And Shooks dives to the pit lane, responds to Poom pitting a lap ago. He knows that this isn't his race. Crucially though, Schluter will still get the DRS, and Pollens has stayed out. Now look further back, we've got Grankvist going through, and Kropp going through as well. The top three are once again the top three in the race. Schluter leads from Grankvist and Kropp, and again, crucially, the DRS has not been broken. So Grankvist still has DRS from Schluter, and Kropp still has DRS from him. Next to come through, Yartayan.
It's absolutely amazing. Kropp's just managing to just hold on, isn't he, to the back of this, which is really great because keeps a bit of pressure on Grankvist from behind, as well as obviously trying to apply pressure to Schluter in front. But all these guys pitted on different laps, and they've all came out pretty much after we got through traffic in exactly the same position they were in before. Obviously, Grankvist and Kropp switched around compared to the first stint. But really going to be tricky now for Schluter. He's going to get so much pressure from Grankvist. He's just under half a second behind coming at the final section. He's going to be within the DRS. I wouldn't be surprised if Grankvist used a bit of push to pass to get the move done as well. Let's see what happens. Can Schluter defend this? I'm not sure. Grankvist is super close.
He is indeed. Down the straight we go. DRS wide open on the back of Grankvist's car. Look how close he is now. Oof, well, later on in the race you might have expected a dive bomb there. Chris Butcher finally comes into the pits. He may well be going for a one stop, although he would have to go for the mediums from here, so I'm not entirely sure. Now, the drivers on hards have the difficulty of there having been about maybe 45 laps after their pit stop to the end of the race. I do think we're expecting more stops. Probably one more stop from all of these drivers, including Chris Butcher. Butcher now drops out of the top 20, although I'm sure that he will get back in later on at the rate he's been going. And you can see the gap across the top of the hill. You see it in real time on the bottom right. It was less than half a second as they went under the banner. It does tend to come out and then back down again depending on where they are on the track. The accordion effect can make the same gap look bigger and smaller at different points. Out of the final turn they go once again. This is where the DRS kicks in, right there. You see the line across the track. Grankvist has it. He's got the overspeed. He's going faster than Mark Schluter can. And through he goes on the outside. Jan Grankvist takes the lead of the race, just as he has done at the last 3 Grand Prix. Jan Grankvist leads the race from Mark Schluter and Moritz Kropp. And that is the change that we all expected to happen at some point. But the race is far from over. We're not even halfway through yet. We've still got strategy to play with. We've still got back markers to come into effect because, of course, this is quite a short circuit as far as GPVWC Super League circuits go. And still a long, long way to go. But for the time being, it's advantage Grankvist as he hunts for his 4th race victory and his 4th in succession run.
Yeah, it's certainly looking good for Grankvist now. Not quite brought the second, but already 6/10 that he's pulled on Schluter. But Schluter will have some DRS, but I don't think this is quite close enough to pass him back. And it's a shame that Kropp wasn't a little bit closer because that would have been really spicy last time round. But Schluter now, let's see how close he can get with the DRS here. So he starts off 6/10 coming down the straight. Yeah, you can see he's just not got enough overspeed to get anywhere near for the move, let alone get the move done. But if he keeps himself within this sort of 1 second range, you can do something bold with the strategy. You can think about doing something different to Grankvist. Obviously, Grankvist now has to play the kind of conservative role. Schluter's opened up now to do whatever he wants, and Kropp's even more than that. But I don't think Kropp's quite going to hold on to the back of these guys.
It's worth noting that Jan Grankvist is the only one of these top 3 who has won a Super League race before. Of course, he only won his first race this season, which is quite remarkable to think. considering how we're talking about him as this dominant force in GPVWC Super League right now. Mark Schluter yet to win a race, he's only had one podium. Moritz Kropp yet to even finish in the top 4 of a Super League race. So he is on for a personal best no matter what happens here. Jarl Tyen, of course, has won before. He won just last year, but was already used to the world of winning from, I think, the 2017 season was the last time he finished on the top step of the podium. We have no former winners of the San Marino or Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Or I guess it's always been the San Marino Grand Prix, hasn't it? Because they haven't done that silly thing that Formula 1 has. But anyway, no former winners on the grid. We were due to have one, of course, being Tom Stevens, who won it last year. But unfortunately, he had internet issues. Liam Duval is in the YouTube chat. Liam Duval won it in 2022. So, hello, Liam. Hope you're having a good day. Hope to see you back on the grid soon, because you're easily good enough to be in Super League. And the previous winners, of course, the previous races here at Imola were a bit further ago in the history books. The most successful driver here, who won it twice, was a guy by the name of Mikko Jääkkönen, who won it in 2003 and 2004. Although that's quite a long time ago. GPVWC was very different back then. And it means that while a lot of these drivers will have experience here and will have successes in other leagues, none of them have tasted the top step of the GPVWC Super League podium here. And I'm afraid one driver who won't be today is Ruben Machedi, because he has become our 5th retirement of the race. We saw him start from the very back after crashing out in qualifying, and unfortunately he has now retired from the race. Whether it was another crash or not is yet to be seen. So 5 retirements, including the whole of the Green Stripes team. 25 cars still remain in the race, and we're about to see a replay of what happened. Here's Ruben Machedi in the last remaining Green Stripes car. Now this is where he crashed in qualifying, and he's going to go off in exactly the same place. Not quite the same mistake, didn't quite make the wall this time, but he's clearly not liking that corner, and he's now decided to pull up in the pits. And like I said, 25 cars remaining. Now, let's take a look back at the leaders if we can, because here they are. Mark Schluter has not been letting Jan get away, and they have both been pulling away from Moritz Kropp, actually. Kropp's in more danger from Jarl Tyen behind. Jarl on the medium tyres, and he's now lost DRS from the top 2. So it's Grankvist versus Schluter, and here we go onto the start-finish straight once again, Ryan.
Yeah, could even be Tyen getting in this battle come the end of the race, maybe. But look who's jumped up into P5 after all this. Adam Maguire.
Yeah.
I told you when he was sitting in P9 that he was sitting kind of pretty watching everybody squabble ahead of him, and he's managed to capitalise through the pit stops and jump up into the top 5 already with still, you know, a good 30 odd laps to go. So amazing effort from him after by his standards probably poor qualifying. B. Martin gets the move done on Chris Shepherd. Chris Shepherd having a steady, nice race. Obviously he struggled for a little bit of consistency for the last season or so, but nice little top 15 points finish would be pretty good, and you could even get a top 10 coming into this.
Ruben Machedi's come into the YouTube chat and said that the car was just extremely oversteer and he had no confidence in it. That's paraphrasing what he actually said, of course, but you know, this is a live stream. But anyway, Moritz Kropp P3, Jarl Tyen catching him down P4. Kropp needs to keep his cool here. Even if he loses P3, that's not the end of the day, especially from a strategic point of view. I feel like this race is going past a bit slower than races normally do, especially with all of the tension building amongst the leaders and throughout the pack. It's taken a lot longer to get to the halfway stage than we're used to, but I'm not complaining. Super League is exciting. It keeps you enthralled through the whole thing. Jarl Tyen even closer to the back of Kropp than he was before, now less than half a second. Here's Matthias Moos versus Jukka-Pekka Lalu. Lalu now up into 8th position. He's been having a decent race, Jukka-Pekka. Not the best of qualifyings, but I'm expecting A strong result at the end from him. Dylan Fisher around the outside of Chris Shepherd, who just 1 lap ago we saw being overtaken by Carlos Martin. A great move from Dylan Fisher there. And that was for 12th position in the order, Ryan.
Yeah, Dylan doing a good job. I know he was pretty quick in quali, but managing to keep similar sort of pace up in the race. And these two are still looking close as well, which is what we like to see. Not quite being an attempt at an overtake yet, but they're keeping within reaching distance of Schleiter. And then potentially we could have Ty and go up to the back of these if he manages to get past Crop at some point. There's still, 33 laps to go. Plenty of time to take a 2-second gap out if they can get their heads down and maybe get the tyres back into a window for themselves that they want. You see now Schleiter again opting to just kind of stay behind, not close enough to even really show a nose. It's not the kind of corner you want to just show a nose at either. It's a bit sketchy as we see Shepherd now. Is he going to bounce back at Dylan Fisher? Yes, he is. He's going to get the move done miles before the corner as well. That DRS super strong there for Chris. And gets that done very nicely into turn 1.
Yeah, just a lap after he lost it in the first place. So they've swapped back again once again. There are the Adonis cars. We have Janos Brachok leading Robin Panzer, the team owned by Menno Klont. Menno Klont is watching this race. He's actually in a call with Maxime Bewley right now, by the look of it, which is interesting. A couple of other people not involved in the race, also in the same Discord call, presumably watching Maxime's live stream. Schluter still keeping up with Jan Granqvist. I'm liking the YouTube comment I've just seen from Stephen Lexo. He says, "Hi commentators, I want to grate my grandma." I presume you mean you want us to greet your grandma, in which case, hello to Stephen's grandma, hope you're having a good day. And yes, apologies for making fun of the slight spelling error there, but I
actually like Ed's. I like Ed's comment, which says, "By the way, Stephen, the commentators have names."
Oh,
which is true. We do have names.
Do you? What's your name?
Don't know, forgotten it.
You've forgotten. Okay, well that's not very helpful, is it? Anyway, we've got Moritz Krop P3 just ahead of Jarl Tyen at P4. It's taken Jan a little longer than he would have liked to really get on terms with Moritz and to make the overtake. He'd still say that Moritz has the strategic advantage. Through Villeneuve they go. And out. Sorry, that was Tamburello towards Villeneuve now. The same year that Villeneuve had his massive accident here in 1980, his teammate Jody Scheckter had pretty much exactly the same crash. That makes me wonder why they didn't just call the corner Ferrari or something like that. But anyway, I guess Villeneuve's was more memorable, did it better maybe. Up through Piratella they go. Over that difficult curb on the outside. The curb is rather serrated here in places. It's why you see drivers just randomly spinning, why we saw that a couple of times in qualifying and practice, because the curb hooks you in. And talking of hooking in, Jan Granqvist is getting sucked up behind Mark Schluter getting sucked up behind Granqvist in the slipstream and goes back through. Mark Schluter has retaken the lead of the race with the DRS and the slipstream, and he leads once again just as he did for the majority of the opening stage of the race. And this is very much not over yet. Anyone who was watching this in the interest of neutrality and whose heart sank when Granqvist went through, with flashbacks of Rudy van Buren making up places and running away into the distance, will be very heartened here to see that this race is far from over, because Mark Schluter has thrown another spanner in the works by going back through ahead of Jan Granqvist. And now we've got Fournier versus Butcher, so Butcher back through into 20th place. I knew he'd be back into the top 20 before long. Still a chance of points for Chris Butcher. That'll be his aim for today. But we're going to see a replay once again of the overtake. No, we're not. This is Risto Caput in the pit lane. Oh, don't tell me Caput's pulled up. Oh, that's a shame. Risto Caput becomes the 6th retirement of the day on his return to GPVWC Super League. Clearly did not feel as strong as he used to in that car. And there is the overtake. Mark Schluter goes through on Jan Granqvist. It was a straightforward move in a straight line, but that's exactly what he needed to do. And the lead has changed hands once again, Ryan.
Not to be a negative Nancy, but I did not expect this to happen. I thought Granquist was going to drive off into the absolute distance, but Schluter proving me wrong, and boy am I happy that he's doing so. This is exactly what we want to see. But now what I want to see is either Crop or Ty and start to get reel these guys back in if they start to battle, but not too confident on that one happening. As we see, good little pack forming here for, I think this is P7, yeah, P7 backwards to P11. Maurizio Gobbi kind of at the, well, yeah, P10 in this, not quite at the back of this group, but he's got to look forwards and backwards. He's got Carlos Martin all over the rear. Matthias Muss ahead of him. Matthias not doing too bad. We saw him getting a bit roughed up at the start of the race, but he's managed to keep his nose clean, and clearly a decent pit stop strategy meant that he's actually kind of come out in the position he was always in and around. I think he was P8 at the start of that when he started going backwards, so not a bad effort at all. But one person I did expect a little bit more from, Yaltayan, hasn't quite had that little bit extra in the tank to get the move done on Moritz, but podium's still within reach for him.
It's Fabrizio Gobbi versus Carlos Martin over P10. Martin all over the back of Gobbi. Looked as if he was going to go to the right, goes to the left. That's the better place to be. No, it's not. Round he goes. Round they both go. They collide. They tangled wheels, and the problem with open wheelers is that when you do that, the cars hook together, and around you both go. Oh, I think he got collected. I think someone else hit him there. Yeah, something's gone very badly wrong. Now, does anyone else have serious damage? Martin is out of the race. He's lost the front right wheel. But who took that off, and how badly damaged is their car?
I'm not sure if it was actually Gobbi that knocked into Martin, which pushed him into the track. We'll have to hopefully get a view of it on this replay, but that was never going to work into turn one.
There's
Martin
the tangle. He attempts to rejoin. Bang! Oh, and it's Chris Shepherd. That must have been Chris Shepherd, right?
Yeah, it certainly looked like an edge car, but he'd already lost that wheel before that little bit of contact. Oh.
And Shepherd's out. Shepherd went hard into the wall as a result of the contact, and that will be no fault of Chris Shepherd's whatsoever. It looks to me as if... Oh, yeah, it looks to me as if he wasn't expecting Martin to take that side of the road as he rejoined. There he goes. Just gets taken out and into the barriers. So race over for two drivers in that one. And unfortunately we've seen a couple of pretty bad rejoins in the recent past of GPVWC. I think it's something that we should see cracked down upon in the near future. Matthias Muss and Fabrizio Gobbi are both in the pits now. 22 cars remain in this race. And that means that... Did we lose someone else in that as well?
We lost Martin and just Martin and Shepherd.
Oh yeah, sorry. So Resto Caput was the 6th retirement. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. My apologies. I thought Caput was the 5th retirement for some reason, but no, we've lost 8 drivers from this race now. But the good thing about GPVWC Super League is that we always have such a large entry list that retirements don't really diminish the grid by that much. We've still got more drivers here than you would see in a real life Grand Prix nowadays. Mark Schluter leads by less than half a second from Jan Granqvist. Prop still holding up Yaltayan for P3. He's dropping back from Schluter and Granqvist. Not the best situation if he wants to win this race, but remember, for Moritz Krop, anywhere higher than 5th would be his best Super League result. Is Heiko Poom just behind Panzer and Meyer. Up towards turn 1 they go. Colt Schukes is in the points, which is impressive. We haven't seen much from the Stax team so far this season. We've got Matthias Muss now passing Philip Pushke, that's for P17. Stax, in fact, are the only team yet to yet to score a point in this season, so this would be absolutely crucial for Zolt Fuchs if he was to bring it home in 14th or better. Unfortunately, they've had 5 retirements from 8 opportunities so far in this season, so I guess you could say they're more used to staxing it. I'm so sorry.
Wow.
Little bit of a twitch from Moritz Krop as he goes through the Ravazzas, keeps it under control. But I'm right though, I mean we've already seen one Stax car out of the race, I'm afraid to say. Istvan Singel didn't last particularly long, so Zolt Fuchs is their last chance here today.
Yeah, and he's running a good P14 at the moment, so there is definitely points on the card, which would be really nice to see. And we see this train falling for P10. P10 backwards, the Adonis cars have done quite a good job to get themselves into P10 and 11 and kind of holding the fort there. Ahead of Jack Mayer, who seems to every time we look be in P12. No matter what happens in the race, he seems to always be P12. But Granquist looking pretty close to the back of Schleiter this time round. Again, it's interesting to see if he'll go for the move. He's already tried to lead the race and get a gap, and it didn't work. So he might be thinking now it's best to kind of sit in and wait for this final pit stop window to try and do something, create a gap or get past. But, you know, he's a racer, he'll want to try and make the move if it's there. He's not going to back out. 6/10 will be across the line, the DRS opens, it's close, but I don't think it'll be close enough to get the move done.
Probably not this lap. I'm going to keep an eye on it just in case. Here they go to the braking zone. Now the thing about Super League is that even when one driver, and Moritz Krop's in the pits by the way, as is Adam Maguire and Matthew Williams, so we've got the second pit window underway now. But I completely lost my train of thought, but the best thing about Super League is that even when one driver is achieving more than the others, when they're running away with the championship potentially, like we've seen Yannick Bock do in the past, like we're starting to see Jan Grankvist doing now, the races are still close. So the championship isn't always, but the races always are. It's a bizarre phenomenon. I guess it's because the cars are all based on the same chassis, and yeah, they have development that they put into the cars and the engines as the season goes on. But from a baseline perspective, the cars are actually they start off the same, and they're still quite similar at this point in time. And also, the drivers are just so evenly matched here as well. So Mark Schluter only 0.8 of a second ahead of Jan Grankvist, still giving Grankvist the DRS. I'm always worried when it comes to championship fights like this that I'm at risk of vilifying the driver in the lead of the championship. Like earlier, for example, we were saying that it was a good thing that Krop had got past Grankvist and held him up at the start of the race to stop Jan from getting away. That is not, of course, because of anything personal for Jan Grankvist, as Jarl Tyen, Daniel Slipkowski and Dylan Fisher all pit. It's nothing personal at all, it's simply from a neutralist perspective. We want to see the championship fight go down to the final round of the season, purely for the entertainment factor. But that's not to say that Jan Grankvist does not deserve any of the success that he's got so far this season, because he is a very nice person and a very quick driver. But for the time being, I think that we would all welcome a Mark Schluter or Moritz Krop victory. Still way too early to talk about that though. All we really want to see is a good race. We now have the Adonis cars, 3rd and 4th, Janos Bratchok and Robin Panzer. We had a lot of cars pitting that last time around, pretty much everyone. Now where is... Okay, so Schluter and Grankvist are coming up to the pit lane, and they both stay out. They both stay out yet again. They had enough of a gap over Krop and Tyen that they don't really need to react. At least not straight away. And here comes Grankvist to the outside. He does have a run this time, and just as he did before, he goes straight back through on Mark Schluter. That's almost an identical maneuver to the one we saw him pull earlier in the race. It's the only realistic overtaking opportunity on this track, unless someone ahead of you makes a mistake. But it's gone back the way of Jan Grankvist now. But we are, of course, in that second pit window. Robin Panzer pits now. And we await the stops of Jan Granqvist and Mark Schluter. So now the question, of course, is will they go on to medium tyres for the end? Are they even attempting to stay out for the softs? Because remember, we saw Jack Mayer doing about 20 laps on softs at the start of this race. We got 22 laps left in this race, and the cars are lighter than they were at the start. Yeah, I think if you stop now, you've probably got to go for mediums, right? And I don't see anyone. I mean, there's a chance, of course, that people might be going back to softs. What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, I was hoped to are more than likely going to go medium. We saw Mayer could do 20 laps, I think it was, on the softs, but he was certainly the anomaly by many, many laps compared to everybody else. I think Granqvist got that move done. Eventually, I'd go as far as to say the perfect time. He now kind of controls what happens here. Like Schluter can, yeah, maybe hit opposite and try and do something different, but the undercut hasn't looked that strong here. I don't think the overcut's going to do a lot either, so either way, Granqvist can kind of just go first if he even wants to, or he can react to Schluter and only go a lap later and probably still hold the lead unless something miraculous happens. But yeah, interesting one. It's interesting that they've stayed out so much longer than the guys behind. I know that they had a few seconds, so they're not really going to probably get caught that much by Crop. But yeah, I'm surprised they didn't go only like a lap or maybe 2 laps later. They've stayed out 3. I think this might even be the fourth lap longer than what Crop has.
I'm a bit confused by the YouTube chat right now. Someone appears to be ordering potato salad with fries, so I don't know what's going on there, but there you go. Yes, I think we have quite a hungry chat going on, Stephen. Anyway, I'll try not to get too distracted by that. I am actually learning German right now, and I'm quite proud of myself for understanding that conversation, but there wasn't much to be understood in the first place. Meanwhile, Jan Granqvist and Mark Schluter are both in the pit lane. So Granqvist and Schluter pitting from first and second, and I would really like to take a look at that because I want to see what tyres they're on. Now, Moritz Krop, we were just looking at, is coming through, and they're very nearly side by side in. They are side by side in the pits. Look at Schluter. Schluter's jumped him. They're on different tyre compounds too, but we'll take a look at that in a second. Schluter gets out ahead. They were side by side in the pit lane. There's no such thing as an unsafe release here unless you do actually collide with someone and cause serious damage. Schluter leads the race. Granqvist is second. They come up just ahead of Jack Mayer, who still needs to stop again. Moritz Krop is just behind him, but Krop's gained time. So Krop has gained and benefited from the undercut. And side by side further back are Maguire and Pollens. That's another important one. Maguire could still be challenging for a top 5 in this race. But yes, for the time being, the important thing is that Schluter has jumped Jan Granqvist, and they're on different tyre compounds. I think, was it Schluter on the mediums? Because yes, that implies to me that Granqvist is playing the long game. He'll be aiming to attack at the very end of the race. For the time being, Schluter's got to try to push and break the DRS that Granqvist might have. There are the tyre compounds. Krop is also on hards. Now, why wouldn't they go for mediums? Mediums can definitely do it from here. I'm a little confused by that, but these drivers have done more laps than I have. They know how the cars feel on the different tyres. And Mark Schluter seems to be the exception to the rule. Jarl Tyne, though. Tyne is also on mediums, although he's got stuck behind Poom and Shooks, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of them. Would you rather go on the harder tyre and have a bit more room to push, and be maybe a little bit slower, or go into the medium and potentially have to conserve a little bit? It's entirely up to driver preference, and the two drivers have gone separate ways, and it'll be certainly interesting to see who comes out on top of this one. But in all of that, we did lose Thomas Bach as well, which makes it the 9th.
Well, Fabrizio Gobbi is also pulled up, so
yeah, it's hard to even remember.
I think we've lost 10, so we've got 20 cars remaining in this race. It's been a day of attrition, and there is Thomas Vogt losing control. Fucks it up. Now, that rather goes against your rule, Ryan. You say you always like to tell your drivers to finish the race no matter what. Thomas Vogt there, unless he lost the engine, I didn't see much reason for him to retire that car. But anyway, he's spun off the road and retired. And off and out of the race as well has gone Fabrizio Gobbi. So 20 cars remain in this race. All of them still on the lead lap by my reckoning. Yeah, all of them separated by less than 50 seconds still, so traffic has not been as much of a factor as it could have been. And my goodness, have we got a grandstand finish on our hands if the last 45 laps have been anything to go by.
Yeah, and it looks at this stage like Schluter's driving away a bit, but obviously it will mean that Granquist will probably come back to him a little bit later in the stint. I'm interested to see what the people like Poom and such do when they're going to pit, but yeah, certainly interesting. I can't wait to see what's going to happen come circa 5 laps to the end of the race. I think that's really when things are going to spice up. You see Williams all over the back of Pascal Pollins and Matthias Muss. Williams having a good race, obviously with that grid penalty at the start, which hasn't helped his progress, but kept his nose clean, and as we've proven by 10 DNF, all you have to do is keep your nose clean and be decently quick, and you can get a good haul of points. As we see Yaltayan, well, I thought about trying to go for a move on Hygo Poom, but this time around he'll definitely have the DRS and be able to slingshot him down the straight, you'd assume.
Yaltayan hunting for a podium. This one should be relatively straightforward. Poom still owes us a stop. Here comes Tyan to the inside. I say he still owes us a stop. I mean, we expect he does, but of course nothing is confirmed at this point in time. I believe everyone's used at least 2 compounds of slick tyre, which you have to use in a dry race like this. So Tyan goes through into 4th position. And he's now got to be faster than lightning to catch Moritz Kropp and the podium positions. I kind of hope that Kropp holds onto it, specifically because I've got a hell of a pun that I've been holding on to for when Kropp does well in a race, but I'm sure you'll hear that in 17 laps time, so there's something to look forward to. Mark Schluter, meanwhile, has broken the DRS of Jan Granqvist, and he's 2 seconds up. So, as I said, Schluter's responsibility now is to pull away, to use those medium tyres to his absolute best, to his advantage, because Granqvist will be strong at the very end of the race. The last few laps will be his time to fight, and Granqvist always comes strong at the end of the race. Remember, it was only a few laps before the end in Saudi Arabia when he took the lead away from the THR cars. It was only, well, it was on the last lap when he lost the lead in Suzuka last year, but very nearly won that race, and probably would have done without, well,
crashing.
Yeah. That's another silly thing. I never understand when commentators say things like that, like the old Murrayism. This would be his 3rd win in a row if he'd won the last 2. But, you know what I'm trying to say, don't you? He comes on strong at the end of the race. Doesn't always go his way, although this year it seemingly has done for the most part. Of course, in Australia, he wasn't really that close to the win there until the very end of the race either. Ended up coming 2nd on that occasion, but nearly won it. So who knows? We've got 16 laps to go now, Ryan.
Yeah, and things have certainly settled down. People who are well and truly into their rhythm, and the end is in sight now. People want to hold on to some valuable points, and people will be looking up and down the grid and seeing some, not even just for the driver's standing point of view. Obviously Granqvist will definitely be wanting to just capitalise on Stevens not being here, but people will be looking at the team situation. Only one THR scoring decent points this time round is really big for the team's championship. You could say the same for a few teams as Williams now gets past Matthias Muss. Muss coming out in P7 is pretty good. He was going backwards at the start, but he's certainly going forwards towards the end of the race. And Stepkowski not being quite his day. Obviously setting off P4 at the start of the rim. He's definitely one who has gone backwards on this occasion. But Muss will be happy enough to kind of hold on to the position he's in now, I imagine. His teammate behind him, so no major threats. And maybe he can even follow Williams through for a good position or two.
Ed Hunter says, I love how Caitlin is only now realising why people make mistakes during live commentary. Oh, trust me, I've had my fair share of howlers. As a commentator for 7 years, you kind of have to. But I'll give you a little nugget just quickly. Earlier this year in a iRacing broadcast, I forgot the word for distance and I said kilometerage. So there's one for you. But
Wow.
Anyway, back to the racing. Matthias Moose here, closing in on Matthew Williams. Matthew Williams, though, still in with a good chance of a top 5 finish himself. Remember, started with that 5-place grid penalty. Came through from just outside of the top 10. He's done a very good job so far. He has actually swapped places with Maguire a couple of times. I think in the second stint of the race there were a couple of swaps in that little scrap. But not to say that it can't go back the other way yet again. Matthew Williams actually started from 9th place in this race, so he's gained 4 places in total. I wonder who the biggest gainer in this race has been so far. We have a lovely, neat little graphic that we can show you about that sometimes. Thank you very much, Vince. You read my mind. Pascal Pollens there, up 12. Now, is Pollens still... I mean, at this point, you'd have to expect that everyone's going to the end. Pollens's last stop, by the look of it, was... I don't know. I'm looking at the stint time, but it's not actually showing me... Not showing me the lap. Oh, goodness. Well, okay, there we go. So his last lap was... Oh, or his last stop was about 22 laps ago. But he's running long. Possibly to the end from here. Matthew Williams now takes a look down the inside of Adam Maguire and does go through into 5th position. Williams still on the move, up 5 positions now. Well... Oh, it's still up 4, never mind. Must have read something wrong, but Williams goes through into P5. Daniel Stepkowski up the inside of Pascal Pollens. Tight one. Oh, big twitch from Pollens. That looked eerily similar to when Gobby and Martin locked wheels earlier on in this race, but luckily they got away with it this time without actually touching. And that was a good save from Pascal Pollens not to completely lose control of the car. The car was moving about underneath him at a really worrying rate. 13 laps to go. This is the point in the race where you really don't want to drop it, because you've come so and tried so hard. And if in the end it wasn't to even matter, that would be like a punch in the stomach. Out of the Variante Alta we go again, down towards Rivazza. Jack Mayer still hunting for more points as well. Tell you what, Ryan, I'd be pretty disappointed if I was TOP Esports here. They started their season very well, winning their first ever race in Super League. And Carlos Martin is a strong contender as well. Finished 2nd in Japan, 4th in Australia. But they really haven't had the consistency to keep up in the championship fight, as Panzer and Bratchuk swap places now, as do Prum and Shooks by the look of it. That's for the final points paying position in 15th. Come on, Stacks, you've got to get yourself on the scoreboard eventually. But yeah, with Jack Mayer 14th and Carlos Martin out the race, you've got to imagine, or you've got to ask yourself the question, what could Owen McGorgy have done?
Yeah, it's a shame that they lost Owen so early in the season. And the wheels seem to have certainly fallen off at this round, but it happens. It happens to everybody. You know, my own team had a double no score last time around, so it can happen to anybody. And there is quite a lot of spread in this race between teammates. There's quite a few teams having one driver performing quite strong, the other not so. Had a DNF, Nocturne being one of them, off the edge another. It's been a little bit messy in terms of the team championship, but when you've got 10 DNF, you know, bound to be one or two that come from the top teams, but people capitalise. It works both ways. It's a long championship. Still plenty of time ahead. There's Jack Mears all over the back of Janos Brachok here, potentially trying to get a few more points to reduce that deficit for TOP Esports.
Jack Meyer taking a little look into Tota. This is a tough acceleration zone here. You can see the cars kicking out. That's because of the elevation change. Momentum wants the car to keep going in a straight line, but you've got to drag it unwillingly uphill against the force of gravity. At this point, you're going downhill and you have the opposite problem. The car steps out the other way through Acqua Minerale, one of the strangest named corners in motorsports, literally means mineral water. Over the bumps, that's a massive sausage curb he's just run over on the inside. You saw the car leap, but if you looked at it on a microscopic level, he was off the ground. Oh, all over the tail of Janos Brachok does go to the inside this time. That's the first move I've seen done in Ravazza since the first lap of the race. And Jack Meyer does get up into 13th position, and just in time to get the slipstream and the DRS from Robin Panzer for the main straight. Brachok, of course, will also get the DRS. And if the Adonis cars swapped with the intention of Brachok holding up Meyer, it hasn't quite worked, at least not for as long as they would have liked, because Meyer now, surely he's going to get Panzer before the end of this one. He's much quicker.
Yeah, it looks like he's on the soft tyres as well, so he'll be absolutely flying in that TOP Esports car. Is Jack confirmed now as a second driver, or is he still emergency for this team? We think
he's still an emergency driver. Because the problem with Jack is that he's also quite high up in Super Lights, so he's got a bit of a choice right now. I'm sure the team would have him if he decided to do the full season. He's easily good enough, but with his Super Lights campaign as well, he might not want to. Wide he goes on the extra Variante Alta. Just a quick update on Jack's Super Lights campaign. He was 6th here the other week. That puts him 3rd in the championship. And yeah, it's the early stages. He hasn't quite won a race yet, but he's been there or thereabouts, and he's still very much a championship contender there, depending on how the rest of the season goes. Interestingly, the race winner... Oh, take a look at Hygo Poom, sorry. I'll cut away from that a second, because Poom is now going to the outside of Janos Brachok. Gets through. Poom's on the move. It was only about 4 or 5 laps ago that he passed Zolt Schukes to get into the top 15. And remember, it's the top 15 who score points here, not the top 10 like you might be used to if you watch the real world of Grand Prix racing. There's Jack Meyer on the tail of Robin Panzer. The winner of the Super Lights race the other day was actually David Fidok. It was his first win in GPVWC in any competition since 2017, and he was very happy with that. He did say that he was a bit disappointed it happened in the way that it did, with the pile-up at the start of the race. But, you know, that's legitimate. He avoided it. It wasn't caused by him, so I see no reason why he shouldn't consider that a legitimate and valuable victory. But still leading that particular championship is Alex Lahoe, who I've seen hanging out in the YouTube chat over the course of the day. Hello, Alex. Shame to see that your Super Lights race didn't exactly go to plan, but at least the season's going better. I'm sure it'll pick up again. Down the start-finish straight we go. Jack Meyer has the slipstream on Robin Panzer. Takes a look to the inside now. Has the DRS wide open, leaves the braking later, but early enough to make the corner. Jack Meyer is up into P12 and should accelerate away from Robin Panzer now on those softer tyres. Now, talking of tyres, remember that Granqvist sacrificed a little bit of time in order to put on those hard tyres and attempt to attack towards the end of the race. But he's done a good job. He's kept it within 3 seconds of Mark Schluter, which is exactly what he needed to do. Now, in my mind, the strategy that Granqvist would have been going for would very much have hinged on him coming out ahead of Schluter on the exit of the pit lane, I think that he would have been surprised and disappointed to have been jumped by Mark. And of course, if he had got out ahead, then he could have attempted to hold him up, maybe use up Mark's tyres. But maybe, of course, there's a chance that he just didn't know what tyres Schluter was going for. Maybe he assumed that Schluter would also come out on the hard tyres. That's the beauty of GPVWC Super League as well. You do have alternate strategies that affect the race. It's not always the fastest driver in the fastest car that wins it. And did Mayer just give that place up? It looked as if he just let Pansar through in the straight towards the end. I'm a little confused by that one. But anyway, Hygo Poom's coming through now on the inside. Has to back out of that one. Now Mayer was easily far enough ahead of Pansar to maintain that position. I'm going to look back on the stream. Pansar went to the outside. Oh, I think Mayer probably thought he was beaten and just backed out of it. But anyway, here's a replay. Yeah, so I don't think Mayer did give the place to him. I think he thought he was beaten by the time he got to the corner and then backed out of it. That was a lap earlier when he passed Robin Pansar. I'm not sure what we're watching now, but that's okay. Here we go. This is a lap later where Robin Pansar pulled the overtake. And up the inside, or around the outside he goes, and Poom, I think, was a little startled to find Jack Mayer moving so slowly on the entrance to the corner. Very nearly goes into the back of him, but luckily, no such misfortune. 6 laps remaining in this race. Hygo Poom now goes through on Jack Mayer, up into P13, Ryan.
Yeah, Mayer might be dropping off. Obviously 2 places lost in 2 laps now. But that's what happens when you're the lead car in a small train and you've got no DRS on a straight like that. He's just been taken advantage of twice, but you know, now he's at the opposite end where he can do that to the cars in front of him as long as he can kind of keep a similar sort of pace. It does seem that Poom's flying, it's fair to say, at this late stage in the race is what I was trying to say, and not a bad little points haul for the aka hero cars, the P10 and P13 as things stand right now. As you see, something has happened at the front of the grid. Jarl Tyen has managed to make his way past Moritz Kropp, which was something I did not expect to see with what was a 4 or 5 second gap earlier on in the stint between these two. And yeah, Tyen's managed to get the move done.
So before the replays we were just watching, he was over a second back, so he's caught him at a very rapid rate. That's why we didn't see it. As Poom now goes past Pansar, so he is indeed flying up into 12th position in this race in the late stages. And that is Janos Brachok under attack from Zolt Schuks, still attempting to get Stax's first point of the season. Now here's a replay of Jarl Tyen. It's going to be a straightforward manoeuvre, exactly what we've seen so far in the race. Moritz Kropp was protesting it the whole way down the straight. You could see him moving over to defend, but through went Jarl Tyen, nice and clean, and up into 3rd position. This would easily make up for Saudi Arabia if he was to finish in that place. But yeah, it's bizarre how quickly he caught him, to be honest, because yes, he was catching him, but I didn't think he was catching him quite at the rate that he did. In terms of Jarl Tyen, I mentioned earlier that he'd had success in the past before his victory last year. I said potentially 2017, it was actually 2018 when he won at both Monaco, Germany and Belgium. Didn't say both in that context, won all of those 3 races, Monaco, Germany and Belgium. And then of course the Italian Grand Prix last year, so 4 race victories to his name, just like Jan Granqvist. Mark Schluter, who leads the race, is looking for his first victory, and Granqvist twitched. Now Granqvist has really started to put the hammer down. You'll notice that the gap is under 2 seconds for the first time since their pit stop, pretty much. His last lap time was 0.3 of a second quicker. This one, I'd suggest, is probably going to be more like 4 or 0.5 of a second quicker. Is this the point in the race where Schluter starts to drop back, starts to have the disadvantage, where Grankvist tyres start to come into effect. We're about to cross the line to have 4 laps to go. That is 4 laps to go, including the last lap, of course. Can always be a bit tricky looking at something like lap 60 out of 63. Daniel Stepkarski now P9 on the back of Jukka-Pekka Lalu. Stepkovski, not the best of races compared to his starting position. He started 4th in this one, but he's been caught and passed by some of the drivers who had grid penalties. Still, these will be valuable points for RSR with Tomasz Voch's retirement. Not to rub it in or anything, Ryan. And now we look to Heigo Poom, who is back behind Robin Panzer. I swear he was in 12th a second ago. So Poom back to 13th somehow. Now, take a look at the time between the race leaders. Sorry, we're actually watching Chris Butcher versus Philip Pushke. Whoa, Butcher onto the grass. Under control through the first couple of corners. But yeah, the time between the leaders has come right down. I said that the difference between the two of them would be 4 or 5 tenths of a second on that last lap. It was actually more like 6 tenths of a second over that. And Grankvist has caught up to within DRS range of Mark Schluter now. He's taken another 4 tenths of a second out of him on the last lap. He's within a second with 3 laps to go. This is a typical GPVWC Super League grandstand finish. And this is too close to call still. They're on different strategies. They're moving at a different speed in the late stages, but Grankvist still has to pass him on the road. He may only have a couple more chances down the start-finish straight towards Tamburello. Can he still do it, Ryan?
Ooh, certainly getting tight. I would not like to be in Schluter's position right now. Ask me again in 2 laps. But it's gonna be very, very tough, and we knew that this could happen, and we knew that this was the strategy that Schluter had gone for, thinking that he might still just have it in the tank, and he could. We're gonna see DRS this lap definitely. Is Grankvist going to be close enough? I'm not sure if he's just going to be close enough on this lap though.
2 more laps. He won't be close enough this time around. He's so close though. He definitely does have the DRS. An important question in the YouTube chat. Sad Rufo says, is there a push to pass limit per lap? No, but you are right to bring up push to pass because they get 100 seconds for the whole race, as Matthias Bischan has explained there. And there is, of course, a chance that Grankvist has been saving it and that Schluter has none left. We don't know. The reason we don't tend to bring up push to pass so much in these races is because we simply can't see it. It's there, it's in the background, but we have no way of knowing who's used how much, apart from just pure speculation. But if they have any left, they will be using all of it down the start-finish straight. It will be crucially important at this point in time. They may only have 1 more opportunity. Even if Grankvist isn't able to get past him on the straight this time, though, he won't give up. He'll keep pushing for the rest of the lap, just in case an opportunity presents itself. Maybe he can force Schluter into a mistake. Mark Schluter, though, will be determined to get his first GPVWC Super League victory just 1 year after his first GPVWC Super League podium. Here we go, onto the straight once again. There's 6 tenths of a second between them. Can he get close enough by the end of the straight? This might be his last chance. The DRS is wide open. He's gaining. He goes to the outside. They're side by side on the last lap of the race. And he's off. He runs through the gravel. Mark Schluter should now hold on and win his first Super League race. I'm still talking too early. He's still got to do the rest of the lap. But that was Grankvist's chance. He had to go for it. It was a Hail Mary and he's got it wrong. Grankvist went through the gravel and Mark Schluter leads up the hill, Ryan. What a dramatic turn of events. And I think Lalu's just passed. Oh, and Maguire's up into 5th. Maguire and Williams are fighting for 5th place. So it's all change on this last lap. Lalo and Stepkowski are fighting over 8th as well. But up in front, it should now be Schluter. What do you make of that one?
Oh, I mean, you just knew that was going to happen, didn't you? I mean, I wouldn't go as far as to call it a dirty move. You knew that outside line into there was always going to be tough. But yeah, it's still close. You know, 4/10 now coming in the final 2 corners. That's close enough to get the move done before the line with the RS.
I think that was fair. I think that was entirely fair racing, but I don't know if the drivers will have a different opinion. Across the DRS line they go, but I think that Mark Schluter's done enough. Mark Schluter, just 1 year after his first podium, becomes a Super League race winner. This is a driver that's on the up and up. Great stuff from Mark Schluter. Jan Grankvist second. He will extend his championship lead nonetheless. Jarl Tyen will be third on his, well, kind of Super League return. He missed a couple of races. Moritz Kropp will be P4. That's a personal best for him, although he just about missed out on a first Super League podium. Adam Maguire is P5. Matthew Williams P6. Whoa, and off the road goes Hygo Poom, so he will lose a place. So Maguire was 5th, Williams 6th, then Moose, Lalu, Stepkarski, Fischer, Pollens, Panzer, Meyer, Poom and Bratchok, so not quite a points for Stacks, but Zooks was so close at the very end of the race. There you see them crossing the line in the background. What a race this has been! One of my favourite that I've seen in a while, and probably my favourite of the season so far, Ryan. But congratulations to Mark Schluter, who becomes our newest GPWC race winner, and our 3rd brand new GPWC race winner of the season. Great stuff.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely great to see. Disappointing for Jan with obviously the chance to go 4 in a row, but you know, absolutely crucial points as we see now the replay, Poom going wide. Yeah, absolutely crucial in terms of the Drivers' Championship. That's solid set of points that he's going to get over Tom Stevens now. So even though he'll be disappointed he didn't get the win, I think he'll be looking at the bigger picture. He's smart, but round of applause, Mark Schluter, Edge. What a win! What a win!
Absolutely, and that is big for Edge Esports as well. They lost their reigning champion Jake Denahan coming into this season, and it looked as if it would be a tough season of rebuilding for them. Chris Shepherd unfortunately didn't quite have the same amount of pace today, but Mark Schluter, who has been improving time and time again, of course started the season disappointingly 2 DNFs in a row, but then followed it up by 2 top 5 finishes, has now gone even better. He took his first pole position earlier today, and now he's gone to the top step of the podium for the very first time. I very much hope that we hear him in the interview room in due time as well, because there's nothing more refreshing than hearing the jubilant musings of a first-time race winner. But we'll get to that in due time. While we're waiting for people to appear in the interview room, let me remind you that we've still got a long way to go in this year's GPWC Championship. But Mark Schluter will be feeling over the moon with how it's gone so far. He leads, or he wins, the San Marino Grand Prix as it's still known. Jan Grankvist second. He will extend his championship lead to quite a considerable margin now, at least 50 points. Jarl Tyen at P3, his first finish and podium of the season. Moritz Kropp P4, then Adam Maguire, a good recovery drive in P5. Matthew Williams also had a penalty, but finishes P6. Then it's Matthias Moos, Jakub Lalu, Daniel Stepkowski, and Dylan Fischer, the top 10. On the second slate, Pascal Pollens P11, Robin Panzer P12, then Jack Meyer, Hygo Poom, and Janos Bratchok, the last points finisher. And missing out on points were Zolt Shukes, Jeffrey Fournier, Chris Butcher, Philip Pushke, and Maxime Bewley. But all 20 of our finishers finished on the lead lap. So we didn't have too much traffic getting in the way today. Sure, there were some drivers after their pit stops, but they were entitled to be there. And there are the unfortunate DNFs. We had a big crash involving Gobby, Shepherd and Martin. We had disconnections for the likes of Jack West. We had another accident at the start. Hangraf, of course, stalled on the grid. But anyway, we can now talk to our newest GPWC race winner. So let's go to the interview screen if we can. And we can talk to Mark Schluter. Mark, congratulations! You've won your first GPVWC Super League Grand Prix.
Thank you.
So how do you feel about that win?
Well, after the first two races where I was very demotivated, it's like a huge burden has fallen off my back.
I can imagine so, and you've done it in fantastic circumstances as well. Fighting hard with Jan Grankvist, the championship leader, and to have broken his streak, I imagine, just adds an extra bit of sweetness to it. But how did you do it? There was a difference in strategy, but you were still racing each other neck and neck right up until the first race. How did you manage to beat Jan in this one?
I don't know actually. I think we ran the car a bit higher than them because when I was behind him, just saving my tires in the DRS, I saw that he was avoiding the curbs more than me. But yeah, maybe this allowed me to attack the curbs a bit more. And well, the car just felt amazing this weekend on this day here, and yeah, I'm just relieved.
I can absolutely understand that. I mean, you told me at the start of the season that you were disappointed and that you were considering, I don't know if you want me to say this, but you were considering quitting Super League. That you're glad you didn't quit after that one. What do you think you can do for the rest of the season?
Well, we'll have to see. I mean, Jan is a bit far ahead in the championship, but yeah, hope we can keep this up and maybe get both cars in the top 5 or top 10 next time.
That would be fantastic. Ryan, do you have anything to add for our newest GPWC race winner?
It's just a quick question for me, Mark. What happened that enabled you to be able to jump Jan in the pits in that final pit stop? I know that you were close going in, but something happened.
I believe we have a better pit crew than them. That's what made it.
That's it. Yeah, that was it. Wow.
Fair enough. Well, that's legit. It's the best team and driver combination that wins the race, and you have to say that that's what happened today. Just quickly as well, I should touch on that final lap. You went side by side. Jan went off into the gravel. Just hard but fair racing.
Yeah, I think hard but fair racing. But I mean, if he wants to report it, he can. I mean, even if that is a penalty, I will still take the P2 in the end, if it is a penalty. So, but I think that's just racing. I left as many space as I could. I was over the curb, and yeah, I think there's nothing I could have done any better.
Yeah, don't worry. I don't believe you did anything wrong there. I'm just asking for the audience. But anyway, congratulations, Mark. And I'm sure that you can go into the next few rounds with your head held high.
Yeah, thank you.
Very good. Okie dokie. So, after Mark, there was Jan Grankvist, our championship leader and second place finisher. Jan, are you there?
Hello, here I am.
Good stuff. Now, most people would be thrilled with a second place finish, but that does rather break a streak of yours. How are you feeling?
I'm not too bothered at this point. Well, championship-wise, everything's still looking good, so if I want to feel happy, I'll just look at the standings. But certainly today was an interesting race, and actually I quite enjoyed it, even though it wasn't a race win for us. Certainly, I have to say GG to Mark. Well done to him. He didn't put a foot wrong. He didn't do a single mistake. I was just standing behind him and trying to pressure him into something, but by the end it got good between us two, but we could have done better into turn 1 for sure. But it is what it is. GG's.
Did it change your opinion or attitude towards this race at all when you found out that Tom Stevens wasn't going to be racing?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty big news considering I consider him my closest title rival. I mean, basing off of last year as well, and I know he's got He's got pace all the time. Like you can never count him out. So the fact that he wasn't even able to get on the grid today is a bit unfortunate. And yeah, not great for the championship if we're looking for a fight.
I like that you're being quite seeing it from quite a neutral perspective there as well, because I'm sure that you would love to win the championship, but it's always better to win it fighting, of course. But fight you did today, my goodness, you and Mark Schluter swapping positions back and forth. Can you talk us through some of that and also how it ended? How do you feel about that?
Oh yeah, it's definitely really good. One of the more fun battles I've had this season as well. Lasted all race long. Moritz was there as well in the first stint, but once we managed to clear him, I think Mark was trying to conserve his tyres while he was still in front, but I think I made a bit of a wake-up call for both of us once the second stint was up and running for both of us, and I just went through, used push to pass, and got the lead, and then I started pushing and created a massive gap at the end of the race behind me and Mark. So yeah, that was certainly something that I was trying to do, at least secure P2. And then yeah, the battle with Mark was good. It was just unfortunate I had to use so much push to pass to get past some people. Chris Butcher certainly wasn't making it easy for me. So I think I lost like a whole straight's worth of push to pass there, like 20 seconds almost. So that wasn't ideal, but yeah, at the end, again, we could have done better into turn one, but you know, it is what it is. It's racing. Of course, he was going to go for it and brake late, so I kind of acknowledged that and decided, yes, better not to be too stubborn and jump off the curbs like in a certain tier earlier I did. So yeah.
Yes.
To avoid that, and yeah, P2, not too shabby.
And you don't feel anything about the final lap? It wasn't an unfair maneuver or anything?
I mean, well, like I said, we could have done better. I think Mark certainly could have left space there, but it's just one of those things. You always go for it. It's a split-second decision. Once you've committed to your braking point, there's no going back from it, and you know. It's about time we got a new race winner as well, so I'm not too bothered, honestly. Especially with the
That's a very mature
race.
way of looking at it. Yeah, I like that. Ryan, do you have anything to add to our second place finisher?
Oh, it's hard to ask questions when he's always in the commentary box.
Yeah.
And we're having the same conversations every week. But yeah, really great race to witness. I was very impressed. You can already see. I mean, round 5, you're thinking about the long run with the absence of Tom today, but you just look forward to seeing you out in Canada. How do you feel about that one coming up?
Yeah, Canada is interesting. It's one of my one of the first tracks I experienced as well on GPV. So difficult to say what will come out of it. I've not always been at my strongest in Canada, but you know, I'm still looking forward to it. Maybe some rain can mix it up like it did last time.
I remember that. Didn't you make your FS1 debut in Canada? I remember commentating that.
Yeah, it was. That was my debut, and I was battling against Owen McGorgy side by side for a couple laps.
Oh, that was a great race. I do remember that. Anyway, thank you very much for talking to us, Jan, and congratulations on extending your championship lead.
Thank you very much.
Now, the third place finisher today was a slightly less familiar name, Jarl Tyen. Jarl, do you hear us?
Yes.
Very good. Now, Jarl, we spoke to you last year after Italy. What a tremendous day that was. Today, again, another Italian success. This time only a podium, but I'm sure you'll take that. How do you feel?
I feel pretty good. Obviously, another stand-in race for Epic Racing. Last time out was Jeddah, and that just didn't go to plan at all. We were nowhere with the setup, and maybe a little bit of lack of practice as well. But this one, a bit more prepared and a bit more familiar with the car, tires, etc. And it felt pretty good. Obviously, with a grid penalty, it made it a little bit harder. But yeah, P7 to P3, not too bad.
Now, I noticed that one of the things that gave you an advantage is that you could run softer tyres than a lot of the other drivers around you throughout the course of the race. You were on mediums, whereas everyone else was on the hard compound. Is that something that was planned, or did you just realize, oh, I'm not wearing out as much as others are? How did that play out?
I noticed obviously my soft stint was a lot better in the mid part of the first stint. The end of it, I lost a little bit of time, but I realized then, the tire wear is not too bad. And obviously going off of what Jeff has learned, and he obviously taught me how to protect the tires a bit more. But I honestly didn't even test the hards, so I was purely going off of the mediums.
Wow.
Either way. But yeah, the mediums felt pretty good to me. But what hurt my race really was after I started catching the leaders. After I got past, I forget who it was, but I got up to P4 and I started catching the leaders. I got really carried away and I started pushing a bit too hard. And once the gap was around 2 seconds to Grenqvist, I made 2 mistakes in the chicane, and after that my tires just didn't come back, and it forced me to pit 2 laps earlier than I really wanted to. Otherwise, I think my medium mid stint would have been a lot better, and I probably could have been a lot closer to Jan, as well as extending the second stint, and that would enable me to push a lot harder in the third stint. But the fact that I was still catching the leaders even at the end of the race with a lot older tires was pretty promising.
You were fighting with Moritz Kropp for most of the race as well. Was he always your target?
After the first stint, for sure. I think P3 was the only possible result. So I looked behind me. There was not really a close gap. So P4 was secured, and then when the race was on really for P3, and I started adjusting my pace only to Kropp so I can pass him at the end of the race.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations on yet another strong result. Ryan, do you have anything to add for our third place finisher, Yartain?
Are we going to see you next round? Obviously, we're hoping to see Fabio return at some point, but
sadly, no. Today is a red day in Norway, so I'm able to race without having to work. I work Thursday nights, which is really bad for this race or the series. So yeah, unless there's a red day or it happened to be a free day, I'm not able to race.
Fair enough. Well, congratulations, Jarl, and thank you very much for talking to us.
Yeah, thank you guys too.
Okay, last but not least, we spoke to his teammate earlier on, but we can bring in the other Super Venturi driver, Jukka-Pekka Laulu. Now, Jukka-Pekka, a P8, another top 10 finish for you. You guys are racking up the points there at Super Venturi, aren't you?
Well, Super Janis. I'm kind of just trying to not be liability at this point.
Try not to feel like a what, sorry?
I'm trying to not be a liability for the team at this point because, you know, Jan is doing a super job at the moment, carrying the team.
You're far from a liability, my friend, and being in the points at every round, I don't think you can say that Jan is entirely carrying the team. Today I noticed that you were on a much more conventional strategy than we're used to seeing you on. We're used to seeing you doing really wild shenanigans and staying out for loads and loads of time. Was it a bit of a surprise today how the others were treating the race, or did you kind of know how it was going to go down from the start?
I think the strategy was quite straightforward for this race. There wasn't really that much that you could do. It was pretty much two-stop for everyone. It was just a question, do you use some mediums or not? Based on our data that we had from testing, the double hard was the overall best choice, so that is what we went. Maybe in the end, you can question was it the absolutely correct choice or not, but I mean, Jan in the end, for example, was in the fight for the win on the last lap, so I guess it wasn't terrible.
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, you ended up P8 in the end. Of course, we know that your teammate Jan finished second. How are you guys always kind of there or thereabouts, no matter what your qualifying performance is or anything like that? Where do you get this kind of consistency from?
Just trying to maximize the result. I don't really have any other answer. Like I'm not having that good of a base always. Like for example, in China, it was a very difficult evening. But even there, I managed to get a couple of points, which was good. And that's just how it is sometimes. You aren't always on the pace for whatever reason. And you just try to maximize the result and do better next time.
Fair enough. I'd also like to say a quick thank you for letting me know kind of what to expect when it comes to strategy coming into this race, because your tips proved quite valuable in calling this one. So thanks for that.
Yeah, no problem. I will do same thing in the future as well.
Thank you very much. Ryan, do you have anything to say very quickly to Jakubeka here?
Yeah, just a quick one. You're so close every single time. What do you think is just the last little bit that's missing to get you being a regular top 5, even podium finisher? Your racecraft's always so good, you're always there, but we're just missing that last little bit. What do you think it's going to take? I mean, clearly we've got the car, got the setup that's working for Jan. Is there something that's missing for you?
I mean, I think it's just doing personal best in qualifying. I think that's a good start. Even today, I at a 0.7 on my PP earlier today, but in actual quali, best I managed was high 9 if I don't remember incorrectly. So I mean, that obviously would help a little bit. Like even today, that would have gained me like I think I would have started from like P8 or something if I would have done the lap I knew I could do. So that obviously would always help. And also even then, like just I'm like the thing with this car is like generally speaking, I like overall enjoy driving it, and I don't have that huge like difficulties to drive it, you know. But for whatever reason, even from the first few laps from the pre-season that we did for trying to develop the mod and stuff, I just never really felt like I'm that fast with it. Like obviously it's relative, like, you know, top 10 it's a good result and all, but when I see all the time where the race winning pace is going with Jan, then I'm always lacking a little bit.
Fair enough.
You need a week of hot lap practice, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, thank you for talking to us, Jan. And yeah, I agree with that. You get the qualifying down, you'll be a front runner. So keep it up. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching this edition of GPVWC Super League, the San Marino Grand Prix in 2024. I'd like to say a big thank you to everyone we just interviewed, as well as my co-commentator Ryan Elliott for keeping me company as always, and of course the broadcast director Vincent Gutt, who brought you all of the cameras and visuals that you saw today. If you enjoyed today, which I'm sure that you did, because we certainly did, there is more GPVWC Super League on the way. Canada is in just 2 weeks' time. That will be at the Montreal circuit as always. And I certainly will not be missing that one for one. And in the meantime, of course, we've got Academy, Formula Sprint 2, Formula Sprint 1, and Super Lights. So keep your eyes open on the GPVWC Sim Racing page. But whatever the case, I'm sure I will see you in 2 weeks' time. Thank you all very much, and have a good time. Goodbye.